Imagine stepping out onto your patio in the dead heat of July, reaching out and plucking a massive, sun-warmed, dripping with juice peach directly from a tree. Now, imagine doing that on a tiny urban balcony or a small concrete deck where you don't even have a single patch of dirt. For decades, the traditional gardening world has told us that if you don't have a sprawling backyard, you have to completely abandon the dream of growing your own fresh orchard fruit. But that is a complete myth. The ultimate solution to small space gardening is the genetic dwarf peach tree. These biological marvels naturally max out at just 4 to 6 feet tall, making them the absolute perfect candidate for container life. You don't need an acre of land, you just need a pot. Welcome to a deeply detailed care guide for your dwarf peach tree. In this comprehensive masterclass, we are not just going to give you basic, surface-level tips. We are going to break down the exact, professional-grade mechanics of container orcharding. From surviving the brutal summer heat dome and formulating the perfect high-drainage soil, to mastering winter chill hours and executing the ruthless but necessary art of fruit thinning. Whether you just brought your first tree home from the nursery, or you are trying to rescue a struggling plant, this video will give you the exact blueprint for a massive, reliable harvest year after year. Before diving into the daily and seasonal mechanics of managing a potted genetic dwarf peach tree, it is important to quickly establish exactly where these trees can thrive. Generally speaking, standard peach trees perform best in USDA hardiness zones 5 through 9. However, when you transition a dwarf peach tree into a container, you gain complete control over your microclimate. If you live in the freezing, sub-zero winters of zone 3 or 4, a potted tree left exposed on a patio will die. But because it is mobile, you can simply wheel the container into an unheated, attached garage when the deep freezes hit, safely protecting the root system while allowing the tree to sleep. Conversely, if you live in the sweltering heat of Zone 10, your primary issue is a lack of winter cold, which the tree needs to produce fruit. In that scenario, you simply select an ultra-low chill dwarf variety bred specifically for warm climates. By using a container, you can successfully grow a peach tree almost anywhere in the country. Since we are currently in the peak of midsummer, we are going to begin with the exact, immediate actions you must take for your tree right now during the blistering heat of July and August. If you already have an established dwarf peach tree, these midsummer weeks are the absolute prime window for the harvest. This is where your patience pays off. But harvesting a peach perfectly requires careful sensory precision. You should never blindly pull on a hard, green piece of fruit just because you are eager. A peach will completely stop developing its complex internal sugars the exact second its stem is severed from the branch. It might soften on your kitchen counter over the next few days, but it will never get any sweeter than the exact moment you picked it. Therefore, you must wait for the background skin color, the area underneath the red blush, to completely transition from a pale, vibrant green to a deep, warm golden yellow or a soft orange. When you gently cup the fruit in the palm of your hand, it should yield very slightly to the gentle pressure of your thumb. It should not feel as hard as a baseball, nor should it feel as mushy as a water balloon. It needs a slight, tender give. Finally, rely heavily on your sense of smell. A perfectly ripe midsummer peach will emit a powerfully sweet, intoxicating, floral fragrance that you can literally smell from a few feet away. When color, touch, and scent align perfectly, simply give the fruit a gentle upward twist, and it will effortlessly release from the branch. While the harvest is the ultimate reward, surviving the midsummer heat dome is the ultimate challenge. The greatest danger your potted tree faces right now is extreme, rapid dehydration. Trees planted directly into the ground have the biological luxury of sending massive taproots deep into the cool, insulated subsoil to scavenge for hydration. Your potted tree lacks that luxury entirely. Its entire root system is suspended above ground, trapped inside a container that is constantly baking in the ambient summer heat radiating off your patio or deck. Those roots will dry out exponentially faster than you might logically expect. Because of this, you must master the golden rule of summer container watering. Absolutely never water your tree on a strict, blind calendar schedule. Watering every Tuesday and Friday, simply because the calendar dictates it is a guaranteed way to either fatally dehydrate the tree during a heat wave or drown it in fungal root rot during a rainy week. Instead, you must perform the physical 2-inch finger test every single day without fail. Push your index finger 2 inches deep into the potting soil. If you feel moisture, pull your finger out and walk away. Do not water it. If that top 2 inches of soil feels completely dry, dusty, and crumbly to the touch, you must initiate a deep soaking watering protocol immediately. During a brutal, week-long heat wave, this might mean watering 2 to 3 times a week. When you do water, you must water deeply and aggressively. Pour water evenly over the entire surface of the soil until you see it pouring heavily out of the bottom drainage holes. This heavy flushing action is non-negotiable. It not only ensures that the very bottom of the root ball is fully saturated, but it also physically washes away the toxic buildup of unused fertilizer salts that can accumulate in the soil and chemically burn the delicate feeder roots. Beyond strict hydration, you must play active defense against intense solar radiation and local backyard wildlife. If the July sun is relentlessly beating down on your patio and you notice the edges of the peach leaves crisping up, turning brown, and curling inward, a condition known as sun scald, you need to intervene immediately. This is especially critical if you are using a dark-colored plastic pot that absorbs thermal heat and literally cooks the roots inside. Temporarily shift the heavy container into an area that receives bright, direct morning sun, but is heavily shielded by dappled shade or an awning during the scorching hours of the late afternoon. Simultaneously, you are not the only living creature who realizes those peaches are finally ripening. Local squirrels, raccoons, and birds are desperately searching for hydration and sugar in the middle of the punishing summer. They will absolutely ruin your entire harvest overnight, often taking a single destructive bite out of every single peach on the tree and leaving the ruined fruit hanging there. You must be proactive. Before the fruit fully changes color and begins to emit that sweet sugar scent, drape a high-quality tight mesh bird netting completely over the canopy of the tree. Secure it tightly around the base of the trunk or the rim of the pot, using zip ties or heavy twine. Do not leave any gaps, or pests will simply crawl underneath the netting and have a protected feast. Finally, for your midsummer care regimen, we must address fertilization. The action item here is simple but highly counterintuitive for many gardeners. You must completely stop applying heavy nitrogen fertilizers right now. In the early spring, nitrogen is highly necessary to fuel massive, explosive leafy green growth and branch extension. But in midsummer, the tree needs to focus every single ounce of its biological energy on expanding the fruit cells and accumulating complex sugars inside the peaches. If you hit the tree with a massive dose of synthetic nitrogen right now, you will force the tree to violently abandon its fruit development and push out a massive flush of new, useless green leaves. This biological diversion will severely dilute the sugars in your peaches, resulting in fruit that looks beautiful on the outside but tastes watery, bland, and entirely disappointing. Let the tree do its job. Put the fertilizer away until the harvest is completely finished. If you do not currently have a dwarf peach tree and you are inspired to drive to your local nursery this weekend to buy one, There are highly specific summer protocols you must follow to prevent a horticultural disaster. Buying a potted tree in the middle of July means you are dealing with a plant that has likely been sitting in a highly controlled, tightly packed, heavily irrigated, and heavily shaded commercial nursery environment. If you buy that tree, load it into your hot car, drive it home, immediately rip it out of its nursery pot, repot it, and throw it onto a blazing hot concrete patio facing the relentless southern sun, the tree will go into catastrophic thermal and transplant shock. It will drop all of its leaves in an absolute panic to conserve water, and it may not survive the month. Instead, you must practice a process called hardening off. Keep the newly purchased tree in its original plastic nursery pot for a full 7 to 10 days. Place it in a heavily shaded, wind-protected corner of your patio, slowly introducing it to an hour or two of extra direct morning sunlight each day. Once the tree has safely acclimated to your specific backyard environment, you can move on to the crucial step of selecting the perfect permanent pot. The size and the material of your container will literally make or break your long-term success. You must start with a substantial 15 to 20-gallon container. This provides enough initial internal volume for the roots to expand and safely anchor the heavy, fruiting canopy. Eventually, after 3 or 4 years of healthy growth, you may need to upgrade to a massive 25 or 30-gallon pot. But a 20-gallon container is the absolute perfect starting point for a young dwarf tree. When it comes to the material of the container, you must be highly strategic. Do not buy a standard, unglazed terracotta clay pot. Terracotta is highly porous. It breathes aggressively through its walls. In a cool, damp climate, this is a wonderful trait. But on a hot patio in midsummer, terracotta will wick the moisture directly out of the soil and evaporate it into the air so incredibly fast that you will be forced to water the tree twice a day just to keep it from dying of thirst. Also, completely avoid thin, black plastic pots. Black plastic acts as a thermal solar panel, absorbing maximum solar radiation and superheating the soil inside to temperatures that will physically bake and destroy the delicate white feeder roots growing along the inner edge of the pot. The absolute gold standard for a potted orchard tree is a thick, light-colored, UV-resistant resin planter, or a classic heavy-duty wooden half-whiskey barrel. Thick wood acts as a phenomenal natural insulator, keeping the root zone significantly cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter. Regardless of the material you ultimately choose, the absolute, non-negotiable requirement is aggressive drainage. Peach tree roots absolutely despise sitting in stagnant, muddy water. If your chosen container does not have multiple large half-inch drainage holes drilled into the bottom, you must get a power drill and make them yourself before you ever add a single scoop of dirt. With the perfect pot selected, we move on to the foundation of the tree's entire life, the soil. You absolutely cannot go into your backyard, dig up a pile of heavy ground dirt, and throw it into the pot. Native ground soil is incredibly dense and often teeming with unpredictable pathogens. When it is confined inside the rigid walls of a container, it rapidly compacts into a solid, impenetrable brick, completely suffocating the roots by eliminating all oxygen and preventing proper water drainage. You must build a highly engineered, custom potting mix designed specifically for the unique physics of container life. The perfect high-performance soil recipe for a dwarf peach tree is as follows. Start with 50% high-quality, loamy commercial potting soil as your base. This provides the general structure and moisture retention. Next, aggressively blend in 25% perlite or pumice. These are small, highly porous volcanic rocks that physically separate the dense soil particles, guaranteeing aggressive water drainage and ensuring that the roots have constant, vital access to oxygen. Then, add 15% aged, organic compost. This acts as your slow-release nutritional bank, providing a diverse profile of beneficial microbes, beneficial fungi, and trace micronutrients that synthetic liquid fertilizers simply cannot replicate. Finally, mix in 10% coarse builder's sand. Do not use fine play sand, which will turn to cement when wet, but sharp, coarse, gritty sand. This adds essential weight and physical stability to the bottom of the pot, so a strong summer thunderstorm does not catch the canopy like a sail and blow your top-heavy tree over. Thoroughly mix these 4 ingredients together until they are perfectly homogeneous, and you have created a world-class, professional-grade environment for your peach roots to thrive in for years to come. Now that we have heavily covered the intense demands and preparations of the summer, we must look ahead. Growing a perennial fruit tree means understanding its entire, year-round biological life cycle. What you do in the dark days of winter directly dictates what you will harvest on your patio next summer. As the late autumn approaches, the days shorten and the temperatures begin to plummet. Your peach tree will undergo a highly dramatic visual transformation. The vibrant green leaves will begin to turn a pale yellow, dry up, crisp around the edges, and completely fall off the branches, leaving behind a stark, bare, woody skeleton. For a beginner gardener, this looks incredibly alarming. It looks exactly like the tree has died. Do not panic. The tree is not dead. It is entering a deep, highly necessary biological sleep known as dormancy. This is an evolutionary survival mechanism that protects the tree's delicate vascular system from freezing to death and bursting during the winter. During this dormant winter phase, you must understand the absolutely critical horticultural concept of chill hours. Peach trees have a built-in biological clock that measures the cold. In order to break dormancy in the spring, push out healthy blossoms, and actually produce a crop of fruit, the tree must experience a specific, cumulative number of cold hours during the winter, where the ambient air temperature drops strictly between 32 degrees and 45 degrees Fahrenheit. If your specific tree requires 600 chill hours, but the winter is exceptionally mild and only delivers 200 hours of proper cold, the tree will wake up in the spring completely physiologically confused. It will push out a few scattered, weak leaves, but it will absolutely refuse to flower, meaning you will get exactly 0 peaches that year. This is exactly why selecting a tree variety with a chill hour requirement that perfectly matches your local historical winter data is the most important purchasing decision you can make. Because the tree has absolutely no leaves in the winter, it is no longer actively transpiring or drinking massive amounts of water. You must drastically alter your watering schedule to match its resting metabolism. If you continue to heavily water a completely dormant tree, the water will simply sit stagnant in the freezing cold soil, and the sleeping roots will inevitably succumb to fungal root rot and drown. You must reduce your watering strictly to once every 2 to 3 weeks, applying just enough light moisture to keep the soil matrix from turning into bone-dry, hydrophobic dust. Winter care for a potted tree also requires active temperature management, especially in colder climates. Remember, a tree planted in the ground has its roots protected by millions of tons of naturally insulating earth. The frost might penetrate the top few inches of topsoil, but the deep, vital root system remains perfectly safe above freezing. Your potted tree is highly vulnerable. It has its entire root system exposed above ground, protected by only a thin wall of plastic or wood. If you live in an area where the winter temperatures routinely plunge into the single digits or drop below 0, that pot will freeze completely solid into a block of ice, expanding and destroying the cellular structure of the roots, effectively killing the tree. To successfully overwinter your potted peach in a cold climate, you have 2 strategic choices. You can physically wrap the outside of the container in multiple thick layers of heavy burlap, industrial bubble wrap, or specialized insulating frost blankets to trap the thermal heat of the soil and block the biting wind. Or far more effectively and safely, you can simply put the heavy container on a heavy-duty rolling caddy in the late fall and wheel the entire tree into an unheated, attached garage or an enclosed garden shed. The unheated garage will remain perfectly cold enough to satisfy the tree's required chill hours, but it will safely shield the vulnerable root ball from the lethal sub-zero wind chills raging outside. As the brutal cold of deep winter finally begins to break, and we move into late February or early March, the tree will still look completely bare and lifeless, but you must take immediate, proactive action. This late winter window is the absolute most critical time for structural pruning and aggressive disease control. The single most devastating and visually horrifying enemy of the backyard peach tree is a fungal disease known as peach leaf curl. If you ignore this threat, the dormant fungal spores resting on the bark will infiltrate the delicate leaf buds as they begin to open in the early, wet spring. The new foliage will emerge grotesquely blistered, heavily swollen, thickly puckered, and brightly colored in sickly, unnatural shades of bright red and deep purple. The deformed, infected leaves will eventually wither and drop off, completely starving the tree of its ability to photosynthesize energy, which will heavily stunt or entirely ruin your fruit harvest for the year. You cannot cure peach leaf curl once you see the blistered leaves. You can only prevent it. You must spray the completely bare, dormant branches of the tree with a high-quality, copper-based fungicidal spray in the late autumn right after the leaves fall, and hit it with a second, heavy, dripping application in late February, just before the flower buds begin to swell and crack open. This highly effective double application strategy coats the bark and kills the fungal spores before they ever have a chance to infiltrate the emerging spring tissue. Simultaneously, late winter is the only time you should ever execute heavy structural pruning on your dwarf peach tree. Because the branches are entirely bare of leaves, you have a perfectly unobstructed X-ray view of the tree's underlying architectural framework. The ultimate goal when pruning a peach tree is to create an open center, or a goblet-like vase shape. Using sharp, heavily sterilized bypass pruners, you want to selectively cut away any vertical branches that are shooting straight up through the absolute center of the canopy, as well as any branches that are aggressively crossing over or physically rubbing against one another. By aggressively hollowing out the middle of the tree, you accomplish two critical horticultural feats. First, you allow maximum sunlight to penetrate deep into the interior branches of the canopy, ensuring that the fruit ripening deep inside the tree gets the direct solar energy required to develop deep, beautiful red blushes and incredibly high sugar contents. Second, you maximize horizontal airflow. When a dense, overgrown, unpruned tree gets rained on, the interior leaves stay wet for days at a time, creating a perfect, dark, humid breeding ground for rot and fungal diseases. An open center prune allows the warm spring breezes to blow directly through the canopy, rapidly drying the foliage and keeping the tree incredibly healthy and disease-free. Finally, the dark, freezing days of winter break. The soil warms up, and we arrive at the glorious spring. Sometime between March and April, depending on your specific latitude and local weather patterns, the most magical and rewarding event in the garden occurs. Long before the green leaves even begin to show themselves, the bare, woody branches of your dwarf peach tree will suddenly explode with hundreds of stunning, vibrant, intensely fragrant pink blossoms. It is an absolute showstopper on a patio, rivaling any ornamental cherry tree, and it serves as a massive, vital magnet for native bees and pollinators waking up hungry from the winter. However, as those beautiful pink blossoms begin to drop their petals in late May, revealing tiny, fuzzy, marble-sized green peaches swelling tightly along the branches. You must face the single most psychologically difficult, yet absolutely mandatory, task of the entire growing year: fruit thinning. Dwarf peach trees are biologically hardwired for extreme, aggressive overproduction. A healthy tree will set vastly more fruit than its small branch structure can physically or nutritionally support. As an excited gardener, your natural human instinct is to leave every single baby peach on the tree, dreaming of a massive, record-breaking harvest to show off to your neighbors. If you do this, you will experience a catastrophic failure. If a small dwarf tree attempts to ripen 100 peaches simultaneously, it has to divide its limited water, nutrient, and sugar resources into 100 tiny, inadequate fractions. The result? You will harvest 100 tiny golf ball-sized peaches that consist almost entirely of a hard, woody pit covered by a millimeter of sour, flavorless, deeply disappointing flesh. Even worse, as those 100 peaches grow, the sheer, compounding physical weight of that clustered fruit will violently snap the small, brittle branches in half under the strain, permanently disfiguring your tree. To achieve those massive, dripping with juice, premium quality peaches that cost $3 each at a luxury farmer's market, you must be entirely ruthless. In late May, when the peaches are the size of a thumbnail, you must systematically go through the entire canopy of the tree and physically pluck off the vast majority of the baby fruit. You must thin the fruit so heavily that the remaining peaches are spaced an absolute minimum of 4 to 6 inches apart on every single branch. You want to selectively remove any fruit that is undersized, damaged, misshapen, or growing tightly wedged against a branch fork, leaving only the largest, healthiest-looking specimens perfectly spaced out. It will feel incredibly wrong and deeply unnatural to throw dozens of baby peaches into your compost bin, and the tree will look painfully bare when you are done. But you must trust the biology. As the long, hot days of June and July roll in, the tree will channel all of its massive energy reserves and complex sugars into those few remaining fruits. They will swell to spectacular, mouth-watering proportions, developing an incredibly dense, sweet, and juicy flesh that simply cannot be replicated by an overburdened, unthinned tree. By now, you have the exact blueprint to completely bypass the limitations of a small backyard and cultivate a thriving, heavy-yielding orchard right on your patio. Growing a dwarf peach tree in a container does require a heightened level of vigilance. From engineering that perfect high-drainage soil and mastering the brutal summer watering schedule, to having the sheer discipline to ruthlessly thin your spring crop. But the payoff is absolutely unmatched. There is a profound, almost primal satisfaction in walking out your back door, bypassing the grocery store produce aisle entirely, and harvesting a warm, flawless, dripping with juice peach that you grew with your own 2 hands. It is time to stop looking at your empty concrete balcony or narrow wooden deck as a limitation, and start seeing it as the foundation for your future orchard. If you found this deeply detailed masterclass helpful and want to continue mastering the art of small space container gardening, hit that like button and make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss another guide. I want to hear from you in the comments down below. What specific variety of dwarf peach are you planning to grow this season? Or what is the biggest challenge you are currently facing with your potted fruit trees? But don't go anywhere just yet, because the journey of transforming your backyard into a stunning container orchard is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next 15 container dwarf fruit trees that thrive in extreme summer heat. Let's get started. number 15, we have the dwarf fig. If there is one fruit tree that seems to laugh at summer heat, it's the fig. While many fruit trees become stressed during long stretches of hot weather, figs actually respond by producing sweeter, richer fruit. That's one reason they've been grown for thousands of years throughout the Mediterranean, where blazing sunshine and dry summers are the norm rather than the exception. Popular dwarf varieties like brown turkey and celeste are especially well-suited to container gardening. Their naturally compact size makes them easy to manage, while still producing an impressive crop of soft, honey-sweet figs every year. Once established, they're remarkably resilient and far more forgiving than many beginner gardeners expect. For the best long-term results, plant your fig in a 15 to 20-gallon plastic container. Although fabric grow bags provide excellent drainage, plastic pots are usually the better choice because they retain moisture longer during extreme summer heat. Use a high-quality, well-draining potting mix. Position the container in full sun for at least 8 hours a day, and water deeply whenever the top 2 inches of soil become dry. A layer of mulch on the soil surface also helps keep the roots cooler during July's hottest afternoons. Dwarf figs perform best in USDA zones 7 through 10, although gardeners in colder regions can successfully grow them by moving containers into a garage or other protected location during winter. Their compact root system adapts surprisingly well to life in a pot, and light pruning each winter helps maintain an ideal size for patios and balconies. Most importantly, figs reward patience. During the first year, they'll spend much of their energy establishing roots. After that, the harvests become noticeably larger with each passing season. By midsummer, branches begin filling with soft fruit that ripens from green to deep purple or bronze, depending on the variety. Fresh figs are delicious straight from the tree, but they're equally wonderful in salads, desserts, jams, or paired with cheese. For gardeners who want a low-maintenance fruit tree that thrives in intense summer heat, few choices are more dependable than a dwarf fig. Plant it once, care for it well, and it will reward you with abundant harvests for many years to come. At number 14, we have the dwarf pomegranate. While many fruit trees struggle through long, scorching summers, pomegranates seem to thrive in them. Native to the Middle East and Mediterranean regions, these trees have adapted to intense sunshine, high temperatures, and dry conditions for thousands of years. In fact, plenty of summer heat often leads to sweeter, more flavorful fruit. Popular varieties such as Wonderful and Parfianca can be successfully grown in large containers with annual pruning to maintain a compact size. During spring and summer, the tree is covered with brilliant orange-red flowers that eventually develop into beautiful crimson fruit, making it just as ornamental as it is productive. For container growing, choose a 15 to 20-gallon plastic pot. Plastic containers hold moisture longer than fabric grow bags, helping the roots stay hydrated during July's hottest days. Fill the pot with well-drained potting mix, place it in full sun for at least 8 hours daily, and water deeply whenever the top 2 inches of soil become dry. Once established, pomegranates are remarkably drought-tolerant, but consistent watering while fruit is developing will produce larger and juicier harvests. Dwarf pomegranates grow best in USDA zones 7 through 10. If you live in a colder climate, simply move the container into a protected garage or greenhouse before severe winter freezes. During summer, however, this tree actually prefers the heat and continues growing when many other fruit trees begin to slow down. Harvest season usually arrives from late summer into fall. The ripe fruit is filled with hundreds of sweet, jewel-like arils that are delicious fresh added to salads, blended into smoothies, or made into homemade juice. As the tree matures, you'll notice both flowering and fruit production increasing each year. If you're searching for a beautiful, low-maintenance fruit tree that loves blazing sunshine and rewards you with nutritious harvests for years, the dwarf pomegranate is one of the smartest container trees you can plant. At number 13, we have the Meyer lemon. If there is one citrus tree that has become a favorite among American container gardeners, it's the Meyer lemon. Unlike traditional lemons, Meyer lemons are naturally sweeter, less acidic, and incredibly fragrant. Even better, this compact tree loves sunshine and performs exceptionally well during long, hot summers. July is when Meyer lemon trees are actively growing, producing glossy new leaves while developing flowers and fruit at the same time. The intense summer sun helps ripen the fruit and encourages even more blooms, allowing many gardeners to enjoy multiple harvests throughout the year. For the best results, plant your Meyer lemon in a 15 to 20-gallon plastic container. Plastic pots retain moisture better than fabric grow bags, which is especially helpful during prolonged heat waves. Use a high-quality citrus potting mix with excellent drainage. Place the tree in full sun for at least 8 hours each day, and water deeply whenever the top 2 inches of soil become dry. Regular feeding with the citrus fertilizer during the growing season keeps the tree healthy and productive. Meyer lemon grows best in USDA zones 8 through 11. In colder climates, simply move the container indoors or into a protected location before freezing temperatures arrive. This flexibility is one of the biggest reasons it's become one of the most popular fruit trees for patios and balconies. The reward is well worth the effort. Mature trees can produce dozens of fragrant lemons each year. Their thin skin, sweet flavor, and abundant juice make them perfect for lemonade, desserts, seafood, roasted vegetables, and countless everyday recipes. Add the tree's beautiful white blossoms and glossy evergreen leaves, and you have a container fruit tree that's attractive every month of the year. At number 12, we have the key lime. Few fruit trees capture the feeling of summer better than a lime tree loaded with bright green fruit. Smaller than Persian limes but packed with intense citrus flavor, key limes are famous for pies, cocktails, marinades, and refreshing drinks. Better yet, they absolutely thrive in hot, sunny weather. Unlike many fruit trees that slow down during extreme heat, key lime trees continue growing vigorously as long as they receive enough sunlight and consistent watering. July's long, bright days provide exactly the conditions they love, making this one of the best citrus trees for gardeners living in warm southern states. Grow key lime in a 15-gallon plastic container filled with well-drained citrus potting mix. Plastic containers help conserve moisture during the hottest weeks of summer while providing excellent stability as the tree matures. Place it in full sun for 8 or more hours each day, and water deeply whenever the top layer of soil begins to dry. Avoid letting the roots sit in standing water, as citrus trees dislike constantly wet soil. Key lime performs best in USDA zones 9 through 11. Although gardeners in cooler regions can easily grow it in containers by moving it indoors before winter arrives. This portability allows people across much of the country to enjoy fresh limes regardless of climate. One healthy tree can produce an impressive number of fruit each season. The fragrant white flowers attract pollinators, while the small, juicy limes are ready to harvest once they begin turning from deep green to pale yellow. Their bold, tangy flavor is difficult to match in the kitchen, and far superior to most store-bought fruit. If you want a compact citrus tree that loves intense summer sunshine and fills your patio with fragrance while producing fresh fruit year after year, the key lime is an outstanding choice. At number 11, we have the calamondine orange. If you're looking for a fruit tree that's as beautiful as it is productive, this little citrus tree is hard to beat. Covered with glossy evergreen leaves, fragrant white flowers, and dozens of bright orange fruits, calamondine looks like a living decoration on a patio or balcony. But don't let its appearance fool you. It's also one of the toughest citrus trees you can grow in a container. Calamondine thrives in hot, sunny weather and continues flowering and fruiting throughout much of the year. July's intense sunshine encourages vigorous new growth while helping ripen existing fruit. Unlike some citrus trees that slow down during extreme heat, calamondine keeps performing as long as it receives consistent watering. For the best results, plant it in a 15-gallon plastic container filled with a well-drained citrus potting mix. Plastic pots help retain moisture during long summer heat waves, while the generous root space supports years of healthy growth. Place the tree in full sun for at least 8 hours a day and water deeply whenever the top 2 inches of soil become dry. Calamondine grows best in USDA zones 8 through 11. Gardeners in colder regions can simply move the container indoors before freezing weather arrives, making it an excellent choice for nearly every part of the country. The small fruits resemble miniature oranges, but have a pleasantly tart flavor that's somewhere between a mandarin and a lime. They're commonly used for marmalade, marinades, cocktails, homemade lemonade, and even sliced whole into drinks. A mature tree often carries flowers and ripe fruit at the same time, giving you beauty and harvests almost year-round. From the fragrant Meyer lemon to the incredibly tough calamondin, we have seen how perfectly citrus adapts to hot container gardens. But before we break into our top 10 and explore even more heat-loving varieties, I want to hear from you. Have you ever successfully grown a fruit tree in a pot? Or is this your first time trying? Let me know down in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you are enjoying this guide to beating the summer heat, please hit that subscribe button to support the channel. Now, let's move to number 10, featuring a unique citrus fruit you can actually eat whole. At number 10, we have the kumquat. Unlike almost every other citrus fruit, kumquats are meant to be eaten whole. The sweet edible peel perfectly balances the tangy flesh inside, creating a unique flavor that's made this little fruit a favorite among home gardeners. Even better, kumquat trees are compact, incredibly attractive, and surprisingly tolerant of intense summer heat. Varieties like Nagami and Meiwa perform exceptionally well in containers. They naturally stay smaller than most citrus trees, making them ideal for patios, decks, and apartment balconies. During July, the tree actively produces fresh growth while soaking up long hours of sunshine that help develop sweeter fruit later in the season. Choose a 15 to 20-gallon plastic container for long-term success. Plastic pots retain moisture more effectively than fabric grow bags during periods of extreme heat, while still providing enough room for the tree to mature. Use a premium citrus potting mix, position the container in full sun, and water deeply whenever the soil begins to dry below the surface. Kumquats perform best in USDA zones 8 through 11, although they're slightly more cold-tolerant than many other citrus trees. In colder climates, simply move the container into a bright, protected location during winter. Once mature, the tree produces hundreds of small, golden-orange fruits that often remain on the branches for weeks. They're delicious, eaten fresh, made into marmalade, candied, or added to salads and desserts. Combined with the glossy evergreen foliage and fragrant blossoms, kumquat is one of the most rewarding container fruit trees for gardeners who want beauty, productivity, and exceptional heat tolerance in one compact package. At number 9, we have the loquat. While many fruit trees are still waking up from winter, loquat is already preparing one of the earliest fruit harvests of the year. Native to subtropical regions, this evergreen tree loves sunshine, handles summer heat with ease, and adapts surprisingly well to life in a container when grown as a dwarf or kept pruned. Loquat's large, dark green leaves also make it one of the most attractive fruit trees on this list. Even when it's not producing fruit, it gives a patio or balcony a lush, tropical appearance. During the hottest weeks of July, the tree continues building strong branches and healthy foliage that will support flowering later in the year. For container growing, choose a 20-gallon plastic container. Loquats develop a substantial root system over time, so the extra soil volume helps maintain steady moisture during hot weather. Fill the pot with fertile, well-drained potting mix. Place it in full sun for at least 6 to 8 hours daily, and water deeply whenever the top few inches of soil begin to dry. Loquats perform best in USDA zones 8 through 10. Gardeners in cooler climates can still grow them in containers by moving the tree into a protected location during periods of severe frost. A mature loquat tree rewards you with clusters of golden yellow fruit that taste like a delicious blend of peach, apricot, and citrus. The juicy flesh is perfect for fresh eating, jams, desserts, and homemade preserves. As the tree ages, harvests become larger, while requiring very little maintenance beyond occasional pruning and feeding. For gardeners who want an attractive evergreen fruit tree that thrives in hot summers and offers an early season harvest, the loquat is an outstanding choice. At number 8, we have the olive tree. If there is one fruit tree that defines resilience in extreme heat, it's the olive. Native to the Mediterranean, olive trees have spent thousands of years adapting to blazing sunshine, rocky soils, and long, dry summers. Once established, they often perform better in hot weather than in cool, damp conditions. One of the best varieties for container gardening is arbequina. It naturally stays compact, begins producing at a relatively young age, and is highly productive despite its small size. Its elegant silver-green foliage also makes it one of the most beautiful ornamental fruit trees you can grow. For long-term success, plant your olive tree in a 20-gallon plastic container. Plastic pots provide excellent stability while allowing the soil to retain enough moisture during extended heat waves. Use a fast-draining potting mix. Place the tree in full sun for at least 8 hours each day and water deeply before allowing the soil to dry slightly between waterings. Unlike citrus trees, olives actually prefer slightly drier conditions once established. Arbequina olives grow best in USDA zones 8 through 10. Gardeners living in colder climates can successfully grow them in containers by bringing the tree indoors or into a protected space during winter. Although olives require a little patience before producing heavily, they're an investment that can reward you for decades. Mature trees develop clusters of flavorful fruit that can be cured for eating, or pressed into homemade olive oil. Combined with exceptional drought tolerance and timeless Mediterranean beauty, the olive tree is one of the finest long-term container fruit trees for hot summer climates. At number 7, we have the Barbados cherry, also known as acerola. If you're looking for a fruit tree that absolutely loves heat, this tropical powerhouse deserves your attention. Unlike many fruit trees that merely tolerate high temperatures, Barbados cherry actually grows faster and produces more flowers during long, hot summers. It's also famous for producing one of the richest natural sources of vitamin C in the world. Its naturally compact growth makes it an excellent choice for container gardening. Throughout summer, the tree is covered with delicate pink flowers that quickly develop into bright red cherries. Because it flowers repeatedly during warm weather, it's common to enjoy several harvests in a single growing season. For the best results, grow Barbados cherry in a 15 to 20 gallon plastic container. Plastic pots help maintain consistent soil moisture during extreme heat while providing enough space for the roots to mature. Fill the container with rich, well-drained potting mix, place it in full sun for at least 8 hours daily, and water deeply whenever the top 2 inches of soil become dry. Regular feeding during spring and summer encourages continuous flowering. Barbados cherry grows best in USDA zones 9 through 11. Gardeners in cooler regions can still grow it successfully in containers by moving the tree indoors before frost arrives. The fruit ripens quickly from green to brilliant red and is best picked as soon as it becomes fully colored. Its sweet tart flavor is excellent fresh, but it's also perfect for smoothies, juices, jams, and desserts. Since the fruit is delicate and doesn't store well, growing your own is one of the best ways to enjoy its incredible flavor. For anyone living in a hot climate, Barbados cherry is one of the fastest producing and most rewarding fruit trees you can grow in a container. At number 6, we have the pineapple guava, also known as feijoa. This remarkable fruit tree combines beauty, toughness, and delicious fruit in one compact package. Native to the highlands of South America, it handles summer heat surprisingly well, while remaining much more cold-hardy than many tropical fruit trees. One of the first things you'll notice is its attractive silver-green foliage, which stays beautiful all year. In late spring and early summer, the tree produces striking white flowers with bright red centers. Even better, the flower petals are edible and have a sweet flavor that's often compared to marshmallows. For container growing, choose a 20-gallon plastic container. This gives the roots plenty of room while helping the soil retain moisture during long stretches of hot weather. Use well-drained potting mix, position the tree in full sun, and water deeply whenever the soil begins to dry. Once established, pineapple guava becomes fairly drought-tolerant and requires much less watering than citrus trees. It performs best in USDA zones 8 through 10, making it suitable for much of the southern and western United States. In colder regions, container-grown plants can be protected during severe winter weather. By fall, mature trees begin producing oval green fruit with a unique tropical flavor that combines hints of pineapple, guava, mint, and strawberry. Simply wait until the fruit naturally drops from the tree. That's when it's perfectly ripe. Scoop out the fragrant flesh with a spoon, or use it in smoothies, jams, desserts, and fresh fruit salads. If you want a fruit tree that's attractive every season, thrives in hot summers, and rewards you with one of the most unusual flavors you'll ever grow. Pineapple guava is an outstanding choice for container gardening. We have explored some incredibly resilient, drought-tolerant survivors that can handle whatever summer throws at them. But as we officially cross into our top 5, the stakes get much higher. We are stepping into the elite class of container fruit trees. These are the absolute heavyweights, classic, juicy orchard fruits that have been genetically scaled down to fit perfectly on your patio without sacrificing a single drop of flavor. If you thought you needed a massive backyard to grow heavy, tree-ripened summer fruits, prepare to have your mind blown. Let's enter the top 5, starting with an absolute summer staple. At number 5, we have the dwarf peach. Many gardeners assume peach trees require a large backyard, but modern dwarf varieties like Bonanza and Pick Z prove otherwise. These compact trees stay small enough for containers while still producing full-sized, juicy peaches. Even better, peaches love long, sunny summers, making them an excellent choice for gardeners in hot climates. July is when a peach tree truly appreciates the heat. Plenty of sunshine helps the fruit develop better color, higher sugar content, and richer flavor. As long as the tree receives consistent watering, high temperatures are far more beneficial than harmful. For the best long-term results, plant your dwarf peach in a 20-gallon plastic container. Plastic pots provide excellent stability while helping retain moisture during extreme summer heat. Use fertile, well-drained potting mix. Position the tree in full sun for at least 8 hours a day, and water deeply whenever the top 2 inches of soil become dry. A balanced fruit tree fertilizer applied in spring will encourage healthier growth and heavier crops. Dwarf peaches perform best in USDA zones 5 through 9. Most varieties require a certain number of winter chill hours, making them well-suited to much of the United States. With proper care, one mature tree can produce dozens of sweet, fragrant peaches every summer. Fresh fruit picked directly from the tree is dramatically sweeter than most grocery store peaches and is perfect for eating fresh, baking, grilling, or making homemade cobblers and preserves. For gardeners who dream of harvesting tree-ripened peaches from a sunny patio, this compact tree delivers impressive rewards without requiring much space. At number 4, we have the dwarf nectarine. If you love peaches but prefer smooth skin and an even sweeter flavor, a dwarf nectarine may become your favorite container fruit tree. Closely related to peaches, nectarines thrive under the same hot, sunny conditions and reward gardeners with incredibly juicy fruit that's difficult to match at the supermarket. Compact varieties are perfectly suited for patios and balconies, producing impressive harvests while remaining easy to prune and maintain. During July, the tree benefits from intense sunlight, which helps the fruit develop its deep red color and rich sweetness. For container growing, choose a 20-gallon plastic container with excellent drainage. Plastic pots help the soil retain moisture during long heat waves while providing enough room for healthy root development. Fill the pot with rich, well-drained potting mix, place it in full sun, and water deeply whenever the soil begins drying below the surface. Keeping moisture consistent is especially important while the fruit is ripening. Dwarf nectarines grow best in USDA zones 5 through 9, depending on the variety. Like peaches, they require winter chill to produce reliable crops, making them an excellent choice for gardeners across much of the country. As the tree matures, you'll be rewarded with smooth-skinned fruit that's exceptionally sweet, aromatic, and bursting with juice. Fresh nectarines are wonderful eaten straight from the tree, but they're equally delicious in fruit salads, smoothies, desserts, and homemade jams. Combined with beautiful spring blossoms and excellent heat tolerance, the dwarf nectarine is one of the finest fruit trees you can grow in a container. At number 3, we have the dwarf mulberry. If your goal is to harvest as much fruit as possible from a single container, few trees can compete with the dwarf mulberry. Once established, this incredibly productive tree can produce hundreds of sweet berries every season while thriving through long, hot summers. Unlike many fruit trees that slow down during extreme heat, mulberries continue growing vigorously with very little complaint. Compact varieties, such as Girardi Dwarf, are ideal for container gardening because they remain manageable while still producing full-sized fruit. The tree grows quickly, develops an attractive rounded shape, and rewards you with harvests much sooner than many other fruit trees on this list. For the best results, plant it in a 20-gallon plastic container. Plastic pots provide enough stability for the tree while helping the soil retain moisture during hot weather. Fill the container with fertile, well-drained potting mix. Place it in full sun for at least 8 hours each day and water deeply whenever the top 2 inches of soil become dry. Once mature, mulberries become surprisingly drought-tolerant and require very little maintenance beyond occasional pruning. Dwarf mulberries perform well in USDA zones 5 through 9, making them suitable for much of the United States. They tolerate both summer heat and winter cold far better than many other fruit trees, making them an excellent long-term investment. The berries gradually change from green to red before turning deep purple or almost black when fully ripe. Their rich, sweet flavor makes them delicious fresh, but they're equally excellent for pies, jams, smoothies, and homemade desserts. Birds love them too, so harvesting regularly ensures you enjoy more of the crop yourself. For gardeners who value productivity above all else, the dwarf mulberry is one of the highest-yielding container fruit trees you can grow. At number 2, we have the jujube. If there were an award for the toughest fruit tree on this list, the jujube would almost certainly win. Native to some of the hottest and driest regions of Asia, this remarkable tree thrives where many other fruit trees fail. Blazing sunshine, triple-digit temperatures, and dry air barely slow it down, making it one of the best choices for gardeners living in hot summer climates. Popular varieties such as Li, Lang, and sugarcane remain compact enough for container growing while producing abundant crops of crisp, apple-like fruit. Once established, jujube trees are incredibly low maintenance and become more productive with age. For long-term success, grow your tree in a 20 to 25-gallon plastic container. Plastic pots provide excellent stability and help maintain consistent moisture during extended heat waves. Fill the container with well-drained potting mix, place it in full sun, and water deeply while the tree is becoming established. After that, jujubes become extremely drought-tolerant and require far less watering than citrus, peaches, or nectarines. Jujube performs best in USDA zones 6 through 10, making it suitable for a wide range of American climates. It also tolerates winter cold better than many subtropical fruit trees, adding to its reputation as one of the easiest fruit trees to grow. The fruit can be enjoyed at several stages. When freshly ripe, it's crisp, juicy, and tastes surprisingly similar to a sweet apple. As it matures further, it becomes chewy and naturally sweet like a date. Whether eaten fresh, dried, or used in teas and desserts, jujube offers exceptional versatility. For gardeners searching for a nearly carefree fruit tree that laughs at summer heat, few choices come close to this remarkable survivor. At number 1, we have dragon fruit. If there is one fruit plant that truly thrives in blazing summer heat while producing spectacular harvests in containers, it's dragon fruit. Native to the hot, dry regions of Central and South America, this climbing cactus doesn't just tolerate extreme temperatures, it actually loves them. Long, sunny days and warm summer nights encourage vigorous growth, more flowers and bigger harvests, making it the perfect choice for gardeners who think July is too hot to grow fruit. Despite its exotic appearance, dragon fruit is surprisingly easy to grow. Unlike traditional fruit trees, it has a relatively shallow root system, allowing it to flourish in containers for many years. The key is providing strong vertical support, since the thick, succulent stems naturally climb as they grow. For the best long-term results, plant dragon fruit in a 20 to 25-gallon plastic container with a sturdy trellis, wooden post, or concrete support. Plastic pots help maintain consistent moisture during hot weather while providing excellent stability as the plant becomes larger. Use a fast-draining cactus or succulent potting mix. Place the container in full sun for at least 8 hours a day and water deeply only after the soil has partially dried. Unlike many fruit trees, dragon fruit prefers slightly drier conditions rather than constantly wet roots. Dragon fruit grows best in USDA zones 9 through 11. Gardeners in cooler regions can still grow it successfully by moving the container indoors or into a greenhouse before freezing temperatures arrive. Once mature, the rewards are incredible. Huge, fragrant white flowers open for just one magical night before developing into vibrant pink fruits filled with sweet, refreshing flesh. Depending on the variety, the inside may be white, red, or deep purple. Fresh dragon fruit is delicious eaten on its own, blended into smoothies, added to fruit bowls, or used in desserts. If you're looking for a container fruit plant that's beautiful, highly productive, remarkably drought-tolerant, and perfectly suited to scorching July weather, dragon fruit easily earns the #1 spot on this list. Before we wrap up, we need to address the ultimate secret to container fruit tree success, something experienced growers call the plastic pot paradox. Throughout this countdown, you may have noticed a strict pattern. I consistently recommended large plastic pots over fabric grow bags. That is because plastic holds moisture far better during long, dry stretches of summer, which is absolutely critical for developing plump, juicy fruit. But there is a dangerous catch. If you live in a region with relentless triple-digit heat, a dark plastic pot sitting in direct sunlight acts like a solar oven. It absorbs the thermal energy and can literally bake the roots alive, even if the top of the tree absolutely loves the sun. So here is your ultimate midsummer survival hack. You must protect the pot, not the plant. You want the leafy canopy of your tree soaking up all that glorious sunshine, but the root zone must stay cool. You can achieve this perfectly using the double potting method. Simply drop your plastic planting pot inside a slightly larger decorative planter. This creates an invisible insulating air gap between the hot sun and your soil. Alternatively, you can paint the outside of your plastic pots white to violently reflect the UV rays, or simply group smaller, bushy potted plants right in front of your fruit tree to cast a permanent cooling shadow directly over the plastic. By keeping the roots cool while letting the canopy bake in the sun, you will unlock massive, stress-free harvests that most container gardeners only dream of. That wraps up our list of the 15 best dwarf fruit trees for extreme summer heat. Which of these heat-loving varieties makes the most sense for your space? Did I leave out a tough fruit tree that you've already had success with? Let me know in the comments below, along with what gardening topics you want me to cover next. But don't go anywhere just yet, because our container orchard masterclass is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next 15 dwarf fruit trees perfect for beginners to grow in pots this July. Let's get started. Number 15. Dwarf Mineola Tangelo Tree. Kicking off our countdown at number 15 is an absolute masterpiece of citrus breeding, the spectacular dwarf Mineola Tangelo. If you happen to live down in the warm, sun-drenched climates of USDA zones 9 through 11, this tree is going to be a flawless, year-round performer on your patio. Botanically speaking, the Mineola is a brilliant genetic hybrid, a perfect cross between a massive Duncan grapefruit and a sweet, dainty tangerine. What you end up with is a tree that yields the heavy, dripping juiciness of a grapefruit, completely mellowed out by the crowd-pleasing, sugary flavor of a tangerine. For a novice gardener who might be terrified of making a catastrophic mistake, this tree is your ultimate safety net. It naturally develops a beautiful, rounded canopy that requires virtually zero complicated pruning. A lot of beginners are completely paralyzed by the fear that July's blazing heat will scorch any new plants they bring home. However, the Mineola operates on a totally different biological level. According to extensive research published by the University of Florida's Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences, the Mineola Tangelo benefits immensely from a genetic phenomenon known as hybrid vigor. Their horticultural studies confirm that temperatures soaring above 90 degrees Fahrenheit actually act as an enzymatic trigger, pushing the tree to expand its root system at a rate 1.5 times faster than standard mandarins. To accommodate this explosive summer growth, skip the small containers and move it straight into a heavy-duty 15-gallon resin pot. Use a premium commercial citrus mix cut with an extra 20% coarse perlite to guarantee maximum aeration. Plant in the late afternoon to avoid midday shock. Gently lift the intact root ball and settle it into the new soil. Flood it with water immediately. Give it 8 solid hours of direct sun, and by December, you'll be pulling deeply orange, incredibly sweet fruit right off your own patio. Number 14. Dwarf Silas Woods Sapodilla. Stepping away from traditional citrus and into the realm of the truly exotic, we have the dwarf Silas Woods Sapodilla at number 14. This is a magnificent tropical specimen that essentially transforms your backyard into a Caribbean oasis, performing flawlessly for those living in USDA zones 9B through 11. Now, a standard sapodilla tree growing in the wild is a towering giant that can easily reach 50 feet tall, but the Silas Woods variety is a botanical anomaly. It is a true genetic dwarf, meaning it stays incredibly compact while heavily prioritizing fruit production over vertical wood growth. The flavor profile of this fruit is absolutely mind-blowing. Imagine the gritty, juicy texture of a perfectly ripe pear, completely saturated in brown sugar and cinnamon. Because this tree naturally restricts its own size, you never have to worry about it spiraling out of control. The humid, suffocating, oven-like heat of July is actually the sapodilla's absolute prime time. The soaring summer temperatures act as a critical environmental trigger, signaling the tree to rapidly expand its developing fruit. You will want to plant this in a heavy 15-gallon glazed ceramic or terracotta pot. It absolutely despises sitting in stagnant water, so a sandy loam mix heavily cut with coarse builder's sand is non-negotiable. What makes this tree truly bulletproof for beginners is its internal defense mechanism. Botanists at the renowned Fairchild Tropical Botanic Garden in Florida have extensively documented the sapodilla's vascular system, noting its unusually high concentration of natural latex sap. Their research highlights that this thick, milky latex acts as an impenetrable biological shield, effectively gumming up the mouthparts of boring insects and rendering the tree practically immune to the vast majority of aggressive summer pests. Let the top 3 inches of soil dry completely between deep waterings, and use your thumbnail to scratch the skin of the fruit. When the flesh underneath turns from green to golden brown, your harvest is ready. Number 13. Grafted dwarf loquat tree. Coming in at number 13, if you want to bring an instant structural jungle aesthetic to a barren balcony, the grafted dwarf loquat is an absolute architectural masterpiece. Thriving beautifully in USDA zones 8 through 10, this tree features massive, deeply ribbed emerald green leaves that provide a stunning tropical canopy. Trees often struggle with finicky, delicate plants that require daily micromanagement, but the loquat actually thrives on benign neglect. Those giant, leathery leaves create instant cooling shade for the smaller, more fragile pots you might have on your patio. It is also incredibly resilient against common garden diseases, meaning your summer will not be spent mixing complicated organic fungicide sprays. While delicate summer vegetables are wilting and collapsing by noon, the loquat stands completely unfazed by the heat. To keep it dwarf, expert nurseries utilize a highly specific horticultural technique. The University of California Master Gardener program details how grafting a standard loquat scion onto a quince, Sidonia oblonga, rootstock intentionally restricts the tree's cellular division. UC Agricultural Extensions explain that the quince roots physically limit vertical cellular elongation, permanently trapping the tree in a compact, patio-friendly state without sacrificing the size or quality of its fruit. Because it acts like a giant solar sail, it does transpire a significant amount of water. Put it in a substantial 20-gallon container with massive drainage holes, using a rich, all-purpose potting mix heavily amended with aged compost. The ultimate summer survival trick is to lay down a thick, 2-inch blanket of organic straw or bark mulch the exact second you finish planting it to lock moisture in the root zone. Commit to a heavy, deep drench once or twice a week, and you will be generously rewarded in the early spring with massive clusters of sweet, apricot-like fruit. Number 12. Dwarf Washington Navel Orange Tree. No patio orchard would ever be complete without the reigning monarch of American citrus, the dwarf Washington Navel Orange, taking our number 12 spot. This is the exact same legendary, completely seedless, incredibly sweet orange you pay a premium for at the grocery store, expertly grafted onto a dwarfing rootstock so it can thrive in a container. It is an absolute powerhouse for gardeners living in the sun-drenched climates of USDA zones 9 through 11. The Washington Navel is the ultimate confidence builder for a novice. Everyone recognizes it. It is effortlessly easy to peel, and it provides an unmatched sense of nostalgia and accomplishment. If you only have the square footage on your balcony to grow one single citrus tree, this is the universally loved classic that you absolutely need to bring home this summer. Purchasing a potted navel orange in July gives you a massive strategic advantage. Because it has been sitting out at the nursery, it is already perfectly acclimated to the brutal summer sun. You must strictly avoid dark-colored pots, as a black plastic container in July will literally boil the roots alive. Choose a white resin or unglazed terracotta 15-gallon pot, and use a highly fertile, rich organic loam. The science behind this tree's incredible popularity is truly fascinating. According to the Citrus Variety Collection at the University of California, Riverside, one of the most extensive citrus research facilities in the world. The flawless, seedless nature of the Washington navel is the result of a botanical anomaly called parthenocarpy. Their researchers explain that the tree's ovaries are genetically programmed to swell into fully mature, juice-filled fruit without ever requiring the biological process of fertilization. This guarantees a 100% seedless winter harvest every single time. Hit it with a high-quality, slow-release organic citrus fertilizer immediately upon planting to sustain it through the blazing July heat. And remember to use sharp bypass pruners to snip the stem in December so you don't tear the rind. Number 11. Dwarf clementine tree. Delivering a massive payload of small, intensely sweet treats, the dwarf clementine tree is a compact, highly attractive addition to any patio, securing the number 11 spot on our list. Widely known in American supermarkets under popular brand names like Cuties or Halos, this tree is a relentless producer of completely seedless, easy-to-peel mandarins. It adapts beautifully to container life and performs flawlessly across USDA zones 8 through 11. If you are gardening in a tight space or have young children or pets running around, the clementine is your safest and most rewarding option. Unlike many wild citrus varieties that are armed with aggressive, needle-like thorns, the clementine has a naturally rounded, compact growth habit and is almost entirely spineless. It requires zero pruning and practically maintains its own gorgeous, symmetrical shape year-round. While spring is all about the fragrant blossoms, July is the critical fruit set period for the clementine. The intense, consistent heat and highlight levels of midsummer actually prevent the tree from dropping its young fruit. A heavy-duty 10-gallon container is perfectly sufficient for years of growth. Clementines heavily prefer a slightly acidic environment, hovering around a pH of 6.0 to 6.5. Beyond its sweet fruit, the clementine possesses a brilliant, scientifically proven defense mechanism. Horticultural studies from the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension highlight that the incredibly thin rind of the clementine is heavily saturated with a highly concentrated terpene called limonene. AgriLife entomologists note that as the intense July sun hits the fruit, trace amounts of this essential oil vaporize into the surrounding air, creating an invisible, localized biological fog that actively repels aggressive summer pests like whiteflies and aphids without the need for synthetic chemicals. Give it 6 to 8 hours of sun, firmly press the soil tightly around the inner edges of the pot to eliminate dead air pockets, water when the top 2 inches are dry, and by early winter, you'll be peeling your own perfectly sweet mandarins. Before we move into the top 10, have you ever grown your own completely seedless, easy-to-peel mandarins right on your patio? Let me know your experience down in the comments. And if you are finding this list helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's keep going. Number 10. Dwarf June Plum Tree. Prepare to witness an absolute monster of agricultural productivity at number 10, the dwarf June plum, sometimes known as the ambarella. This phenomenal tropical tree, thriving beautifully in USDA zones 9 through 11, completely defies all standard logic of fruit production. It is entirely capable of blooming and holding massive, heavy clusters of fruit, even when the main trunk is a mere 2 feet tall. The greatest frustration for any beginner is waiting 3 to 5 agonizing years for a newly planted tree to finally produce fruit. The dwarf June plum completely shatters that timeline. It is entirely possible to purchase this tree, up-pot it this July, and harvest your first heavy cluster of fruit before the year is even over. It delivers an instant, highly addictive sense of accomplishment that is absolutely perfect for impatient novice gardeners looking for quick results. Hailing from the sweltering, humid tropics, the June plum views the oppressive, oven-like heat of July as its absolute peak growing season. While traditional temperate trees shut down in the extreme heat, the combination of high temperatures and summer humidity forces this tree to violently explode with new blossoms. Its unbelievable speed is highly documented in academia. The College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources, CTAHR, at the University of Hawaii has extensively researched the ambarella, noting that its rapid production is driven by a specialized precocious fruiting gene. Their agricultural reports confirm that this genetic trait allows the plant's cells to almost entirely bypass the standard multi-year vegetative growth phase, reaching sexual maturity and initiating floral development in a matter of months. Because this tree attempts to produce a volume of fruit that physically outweighs its own trunk, you must drive a thick bamboo stake deep into its 7 to 10-gallon resin pot the moment you plant it. Blend a high-quality potting mix with 30% cocoa coir for moisture retention. If you accidentally forget to water it, it will drop its leaves to survive, but soaking the pot will bring it right back. Harvest late summer for a crisp, sour crunch, or wait for them to turn golden yellow for a sweet, tropical flavor. Number 9. Makrut Lime Tree. Operating on an entirely different level of culinary prestige, the Makrut lime, widely known as the kaffir lime, claims our number 9 spot. This is a stunning, highly aromatic tree grown exclusively for its extraordinary foliage. Featuring bizarre, hourglass-shaped leaves, it is the undisputed botanical backbone of authentic Southeast Asian cuisine, performing exceptionally well in containers across USDA zones 9 through 11. For the absolute beginner, this is the ultimate low-pressure fruit tree. You completely eliminate the anxiety of waiting for flowers to bloom or fruit to ripen. The exact second you bring this tree home and put it in a pot, you are ready to harvest. You can instantly pluck a leaf to elevate a curry, a soup, or a craft cocktail, making it the most interactive and instantly rewarding tree you could possibly feature on your summer patio. The punishing, direct ultraviolet radiation of the July sun is actually the secret ingredient to this tree's incredible, world-renowned flavor. A comprehensive study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry analyzed the volatile compounds in makrut lime leaves under varying environmental stressors. The research verified that intense solar radiation and high summer temperatures act as physical catalysts, activating biological enzymes within the leaf epidermis that rapidly synthesize a complex organic compound called citronellal. This intense July heat forces the plant to aggressively pump massive concentrations of these essential oils directly into the surface glands, ensuring your summer harvest is astronomically more flavorful than anything grown in a shaded environment. A smaller 5 to 10-gallon terracotta pot is perfect, using a standard, well-draining sandy loam mix. When up-potting, never plant it deeper than it was in its original nursery pot to prevent collar rot. Feed it a high-nitrogen organic fertilizer and practice aggressive pruning. Every time you snip the top of a branch to harvest a leaf, you force the tree to push out 2 new lateral branches. Harvest the mature, dark green leaves in the early morning for the absolute peak culinary experience. Number 8. Dwarf Satsuma Mandarin Tree. If there were an award for the absolute toughest, most resilient member of the entire citrus family, the dwarf Satsuma Mandarin would take the crown unchallenged at number 8. Featuring a uniquely gorgeous, weeping growth habit where the branches cascade downward like a willow tree, it produces incredibly sweet, loose-skinned fruit. Pushing the boundaries of citrus cultivation, it thrives outdoors in USDA zones 8 through 11. This tree is practically indestructible, making it the ultimate plant-it-and-forget-it tree for beginners. It effortlessly tolerates massive swings in watering habits and completely shrugs off novice mistakes. Because the rind is remarkably loose and practically falls off the fruit, It provides the easiest, most satisfying peeling experience of any mandarin on Earth, making it a spectacular choice for a low-maintenance container garden. While the Satsuma is universally famous for its ability to survive freezing winter temperatures, the blazing heat of July is its true secret weapon. During this month, the extreme heat forces the tree to rapidly expand and aggressively reinforce its deep taproot network within the pot. The science behind its legendary toughness is fascinating. Research conducted by the LSU Ag Center, Louisiana State University, which specializes in cold, hardy citrus, reveals that the cellular membranes of the Satsuma contain a highly specialized, ultra-flexible ratio of lipids. Their studies show that during extreme environmental stress, whether it is the boiling heat of July or a freezing winter night, these unique lipids prevent the internal cellular water from expanding and crystallizing, rendering the tree practically immune to severe cellular damage. Because of its weeping branches, you must select a tall, elevated planter so the foliage doesn't touch the hot patio floor. The root ball of a young Satsuma is notoriously fragile, so use both hands to firmly support the dirt when transferring it. Place it in the absolute sunniest spot on your patio. Allow the soil to dry out significantly between deep watering sessions, and enjoy one of the earliest ripening harvests from October through December. Number 7. Arbequina olive tree. Elevating your patio with an undeniable touch of Tuscan luxury, the Arbequina olive tree is a breathtaking architectural specimen, taking the number 7 spot. Featuring a slender, elegant trunk and a shimmering canopy of silver-gray leaves, this tree is not just a high-end design element. It is a rugged, ancient survivor perfectly adapted for container life in USDA zones 7 through 11. If you want to instantly upgrade the aesthetic of your outdoor space without taking on a fragile, complicated plant, this is your definitive answer. It provides year-round beauty because it is evergreen, meaning you are never left staring at bare, ugly branches in the dead of winter. Furthermore, it actively rewards beginners who might have a busy schedule and frequently forget to water their garden during the peak heat of the summer months. The Arbequina is a literal god of drought. The dry, cracked, blistering 100-degree heat of a July afternoon is not a threat to this tree. It is the exact Mediterranean climate this plant was genetically engineered to dominate. Its terrifying heat resistance is a masterclass in biological engineering. The UC Davis Olive Center, one of the premier research institutions for olive cultivation in the world, has extensively documented this drought tolerance. Their researchers explain that the underside of an olive leaf is completely covered in millions of microscopic silver hairs called trichomes. These trichomes act as a dense biological mirror, forcefully reflecting aggressive solar radiation back into the atmosphere, drastically lowering the tree's internal temperature and locking stomata closed to prevent moisture loss. You must abandon plastic pots entirely and choose a heavy, unglazed terracotta pot so the roots can breathe. Replicate a harsh, rocky hillside by blending standard potting soil with 40% heavy crushed gravel or pumice. Build the soil up slightly so the absolute base of the trunk sits on a raised mound. Practice intentional, ruthless neglect. Let the soil turn bone dry and dusty before you water it. By late autumn, harvest the olives crisp and green, or wait until they turn purple-black for curing. Number 6. Genetic Dwarf Bonanza Peach Tree. Prepare to witness a true botanical anomaly. At number 6, the genetic dwarf bonanza peach. This is not a standard tree grafted onto a smaller rootstock. It is a biological marvel that naturally grows into a dense, gnarled, ancient-looking bonsai structure. It never exceeds 5 feet in height, yet it produces full-sized, incredibly juicy peaches, making it a spectacular temperate fruit tree for USDA zones 6 through 9. The Bonanza offers beginners the wildly surreal experience of growing a classic orchard fruit right on a cramped urban balcony. Because it is genetically restricted in height, you never need a ladder to harvest, and you completely bypass the intimidating, complex winter pruning techniques required to keep standard peach trees under control. It is the perfect, manageable stone fruit tree for any beginner looking to make a big impact in a small space. While peaches are traditional spring bloomers, the actual fruit absolutely demands the brutal, punishing radiation of the July sun to reach its ultimate potential. The bizarre, stunted appearance of this tree is highly documented by horticultural breeding programs. Experts at Rutgers University Agricultural Experiment Station highlight that genetic dwarf peaches like the Bonanza possess a natural mutation known as the brachytic dwarf gene. Their studies show that this genetic code severely compresses the internodes, the physical space on the branch between each leaf. The cells are genetically blocked from elongating, causing the tree to stack its leaves incredibly tight on a rugged trunk while still supporting standard-sized fruit. Despite its tiny above-ground stature, the root system is aggressive, demanding a thick 15-gallon wooden half-barrel or heavy resin pot. Use a rich, loamy potting mix heavily cut with aged compost. When you transfer this tree in July, instantly drench the new soil with a liquid root stimulator fortified with vitamin B1 to prevent wilting. You must maintain a strict, metronomic watering schedule. If the soil bakes completely dry and you suddenly flood it, the massive influx of hydration will cause the skin of the developing peaches to violently split open. Come July or August, when the background color turns golden yellow, you are ready for the perfect summer bite. Harvesting full-sized peaches from a tree that barely reaches your waist makes the Bonanza peach a very unique fruit tree. Do you prefer growing classic citrus or sweet stone fruits on your patio? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe before we continue. Number 5. Dwarf Key Lime Tree. Embodying the absolute essence of an American summer vacation, the dwarf key lime tree is the legendary source of the iconic key lime pie, coming in at number 5. While the fruit is significantly smaller than a standard grocery store lemon, it packs an astonishing, highly concentrated punch of tart, aromatic juice. This heat-loving icon is a mandatory addition for patio gardeners living in USDA zones 9 through 11. For a beginner, the key lime provides an unmatched culinary reward. The ability to walk out to your balcony, pluck a handful of fresh limes, and immediately craft a world-class dessert or craft cocktail is a profoundly satisfying experience. Plus, its root system is naturally shallow and fibrous, making it biologically predisposed to thrive happily in the confined space of a container without ever feeling overly restricted. The key lime does not just tolerate the summer sun, it is completely addicted to it. The intense, blistering ultraviolet radiation of July is the biological trigger required to force the tree into a massive blooming cycle. This absolute reliance on intense solar energy is a well-documented scientific fact. Horticultural publications from the University of Florida IFAS Extension detail that the key lime's biological machinery is heavily calibrated to extreme light. Their research indicates that any significant reduction in direct UV radiation instantly halts the tree's metabolic enzyme production, effectively freezing the plant's growth and drastically reducing blossom count until it is returned to the blazing sun. Because the root system is wide rather than deep, choose a container with a broad, open mouth. The soil demands heavy calcium to prevent blossom drop, so blend a premium citrus mix with a generous handful of pulverized eggshells. Drainage is a matter of life and death. You absolutely must place the pot on elevated pot feet or thick bricks so every drop of excess water instantly drains away. Banish it to the absolute hottest, most brutally sun-baked corner of your patio. Water deeply, then abandon it until the top 3 inches of soil are bone dry. Harvest them the exact moment the dark green rind begins to transition to a pale, yellowish-green color. Number 4. Dwarf Moro Blood Orange Tree. Delivering an unparalleled level of visual drama to your patio, the Dwarf Moro Blood Orange takes our number 4 spot. This is a spectacular, upright tree that produces one of the most highly sought-after fruits on the planet. Its stunning, crimson-fleshed oranges offer a wildly complex flavor profile that perfectly blends the sweetness of a traditional orange with the deep, tart notes of a ripe raspberry. Thriving brilliantly in USDA zones 9 through 11, slicing open a blood orange you grew yourself is an elite, highly luxurious experience that instantly elevates your status as a home gardener. Despite its exotic reputation, the Moro is remarkably easy to cultivate. It naturally grows in a tight, upright vertical column, making it incredibly space-efficient and perfect for tucking into a tight corner of a small balcony where horizontal space is heavily restricted. While the dramatic red color develops in the winter, the biological foundation for that color is strictly built in July. The intense, relentless heat of the summer sun forces the tree's leaves to aggressively photosynthesize, banking massive, critical reserves of energy and complex carbohydrates. The science of this pigmentation is mesmerizing. According to the University of California Division of Agriculture and Natural Resources, the shocking red color in Moro oranges is driven by a highly reactive, water-soluble pigment called anthocyanin. UCANR scientists explain that the tree must absorb massive solar energy during the heat of July to build carbohydrate reserves, but it absolutely requires the drastic diurnal temperature shifts of late autumn, hot, sunny days followed directly by freezing, bitter nights, to enzymatically trigger the release of that red dye into the flesh. Select a deep, 15-gallon heavy-duty resin container for its strong taproot. Blend an organic nursery mix with pure peat moss for a slightly acidic environment. Mix a heavy handful of slow-release, granular organic citrus fertilizer deeply into the bottom third of the new soil. Maintain a highly consistent watering schedule, supplement with a liquid potassium feed, and wait until the dead of winter to test your first brilliantly crimson orange. Number 3. Arabica Coffee Tree. Fulfilling the ultimate fantasy of every caffeine addict, the Arabica coffee tree at number 3 allows you to grow, harvest, and roast your own morning cup of espresso right in your living room or patio. Featuring tier upon tier of gorgeous, glossy, emerald green leaves and brilliant red coffee cherries, it is a stunning ornamental specimen. It thrives outdoors in USDA zones 9 through 11, but acts as a flawless, permanent houseplant in literally any zone across the country. The concept of growing your own coffee sounds intimidating, but the Arabica tree is shockingly resilient. It is a highly attractive, low-maintenance woody shrub that requires very little pruning to maintain its gorgeous layered structure. The massive bragging rights of serving guests a cup of coffee grown directly on your own balcony make it an irresistible, fuss-free project for any beginner looking to impress their friends. While the extreme heat of July can be dangerous for this specific tree if mismanaged, the summer season is when the magic actually begins. The warm, humid air of July is the exact environmental trigger that forces the tree to erupt in massive clusters of delicate, snow-white flowers that smell exactly like fresh jasmine. However, this is the one absolute exception to our sun-loving list. Botanists at the Royal Botanic Gardens, Kew, working alongside the Specialty Coffee Association, have extensively mapped the genetic origins of Coffea arabica. Their research emphasizes that the Arabica evolved strictly as an understory plant, beneath the towering ancient canopy of the Ethiopian highlands. Because of this evolutionary path, its genetic structure completely lacks the thick, waxy cuticle layer required to physically block high-intensity UV radiation. If you expose this tree to the blistering, direct 2 o'clock sun of a July afternoon, it will instantly incinerate its cellular structure. You must strategically position its 10-gallon ceramic pot under a patio roof, behind a larger tree, or near a bright window to ensure it receives only dappled shade. Heavily amend your potting soil with massive amounts of peat moss and fine pine bark for high acidity. By winter or early spring, the cherries will turn a blazing, deep, glossy red, ready for you to extract the green coffee beans hidden inside. Number 2. Grafted Australian finger lime tree. Prepare to cultivate the most expensive, highly coveted, and downright bizarre citrus on the planet at number 2, the grafted Australian finger lime. Widely heralded by Michelin star chefs as the caviar of citrus, this wild, thorny tree produces elongated fruit packed with hundreds of individual, juice-filled pearls that literally pop and explode in your mouth. It is an absolute bulletproof survivor for USDA zones 8 through 11. The finger lime is a luxury ingredient that costs an absolute fortune at specialty markets, yet it is absurdly easy for a beginner to grow in a cheap plastic pot. It is the ultimate conversation starter, completely transforming any seafood dish or craft cocktail. Because it is naturally adapted to incredibly harsh environments, it demands almost zero pampering, making it absolutely perfect for the forgetful gardener who struggles to keep delicate plants alive. Originating from the brutal, unforgiving, bone-dry deserts of the Australian outback, the finger lime views a 100-degree July heatwave as a mild, comfortable afternoon. When every other plant on your patio is screaming for water and collapsing from heat exhaustion, the finger lime remains completely unfazed. Its terrifying heat and drought resistance is a marvel of evolutionary biology. The Australian National Botanic Gardens has extensively documented the unique morphology of this native species. Their botanical records show that the finger lime has evolved specialized microphylla leaves that are shockingly tiny, almost resembling small thorns themselves. This adaptation drastically reduces the physical surface area of its foliage, biologically eliminating the primary avenue for water transpiration, allowing the tree to easily survive apocalyptic summer droughts. A standard 10 to 12-gallon resin container provides ample space. Use a standard cactus mix heavily fortified with coarse pumice or crushed volcanic rock to ensure water drains instantly. This tree is heavily armed with thousands of microscopic, needle-sharp thorns. When you up-pot it in July, you absolutely must wear heavy-duty industrial leather gloves to protect your forearms. Ignore it. Let the soil become fiercely dry before watering. Completely avoid heavy chemical fertilizers and harvest the bizarre fruits in late autumn. Number 1. Improved Meyer lemon tree. Taking the undisputed crown as the absolute greatest, most highly requested patio fruit tree in America is the improved Meyer lemon at number 1. This tree is a living legend. It produces massive yields of stunning, deep yellow lemons boasting a paper-thin rind and an extraordinary complex flavor that is far sweeter and less aggressively acidic than a standard grocery store lemon. It is the ultimate container champion for USDA zones 8 through 11. If you want a 100% guarantee of success, you buy a Meyer lemon. It is the most forgiving, wildly productive, and deeply rewarding tree a beginner can possibly own. Beyond the massive fruit harvests, it operates as a world-class ornamental, continuously pushing out clusters of brilliant white flowers that will flood your entire patio with a heavy, intoxicating fragrance, making it the perfect centerpiece for any summer outdoor living space. The Meyer lemon is an unstoppable biological machine. During the blistering heat of July, this tree achieves the impossible. It will simultaneously hold mature, yellow fruit, push out brand new fragrant blossoms, and swell tiny green baby lemons all at the exact same time. It uses the massive energy of the summer sun to power this relentless, three-tiered production cycle without ever showing a single sign of exhaustion. The secret to this endless productivity lies in its unique genetic history. According to historical agricultural archives from the USDA and botanical profiles featured by NPR, Frank N. Meyer discovered this tree in China in 1908. DNA analysis has since proven it is a natural ancient hybrid cross between a traditional citron/lemon and a sweet mandarin orange. Because of this specific genetic crossing, the tree's biological clock was fundamentally altered. Researchers note it completely lacks the standard winter dormancy gene, meaning its enzyme machinery is permanently locked in the on position. Provide a massive 15 to 20 gallon light-colored container to keep the root zone cool. Use an elite premium citrus blend heavily cut with perlite, and ensure the top of the root ball is perfectly flush with the new soil surface. Give it massive drainage, 8 full hours of direct blazing sunlight, and water heavily only when the top 2 inches of soil feel dry to the touch to enjoy your endless year-round harvest. Final botanical pro tip. Before we wrap up, I need to share one final critical botanical pro tip that will literally save your newly potted trees this July. When temperatures consistently stay above 90 degrees on a sun-baked patio, the peat moss in standard potting soils can dry out so aggressively that it becomes hydrophobic, meaning it physically repels water. Here is the fatal beginner mistake. A novice gardener will take their watering can, pour it over the dry pot, and immediately see water pouring out of the bottom drainage holes. They walk away thinking the tree is perfectly hydrated. In reality, the water simply ran down the inside walls of the hot container, leaving the entire core of the root ball completely, dangerously bone dry. To beat this July phenomenon, you must use the 2-step drench method. First, water the surface of your pot until you see it drain, and then walk away. Wait exactly 10 to 15 minutes for that initial moisture to break the soil's surface tension and open the microscopic pores in the dirt. Then, come back and water it deeply a second time. This is the only way to guarantee that the hydration actually penetrates the dense center of the root mass, where your dwarf tree desperately needs it to survive the summer heat. That wraps up our list of the 15 best dwarf fruit trees perfect for beginners to grow in pots this July. Which of these foolproof varieties makes the most sense for your space? Did I leave out a beginner-friendly fruit tree that you've already had success with? Let me know in the comments below, along with what gardening topics you want me to cover next. But don't go anywhere just yet, because our Container Orchard Masterclass is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next 15 dwarf fruit trees and shrubs for container gardening in temperate climates. Let's get started. Kicking off our list at number 15 is the remarkably resilient Nagami kumquat. While it belongs to the citrus family, a group notoriously vulnerable to the cold, the kumquat possesses an astonishing level of cold hardiness, easily surviving the light frosts typical of temperate climates. This makes it a prolific production machine for your backyard, churning out brilliant orange, jewel-like fruits in notably tight spaces. To set this up for success, you will need a 10-gallon plastic container with large drainage holes. The soil composition is critical. You must blend a standard potting mix with at least 30% coarse sand and perlite to ensure rapid drainage. When the blistering winter temperatures drop deep below 20 degrees Fahrenheit, you simply drag the pot into an unheated garage until the hard freeze passes. A grafted tree will begin producing heavy yields within just 1 to 2 years, with the fruit perfectly ripening in the dead of winter. Harvest by carefully snipping the stems with micro shears once the rind turns a vibrant, glowing orange. In the culinary world, the kumquat is the only citrus fruit on Earth intended to be eaten entirely whole, offering a delightful flavor contrast between its intensely sweet skin and lip-puckering, sour juice, validating its profound health benefits. A comprehensive report published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry confirmed that the kumquat's edible rind contains a concentration of flavonoids and antioxidants exponentially higher than the internal pulp, providing robust cellular protection against premature aging. For a truly fascinating botanical fact, the kumquat survives freezing temperatures through a rare biological mechanism called deep dormancy. Unlike lemons or oranges, it completely halts all internal sap flow during the winter, protecting its vascular system from freezing and bursting, making it the premier cold weather champion of the citrus world. Coming in at number 14 is the revered cold weather icon of Japan, the yuzu citrus. Instead of struggling with fragile, frost-sensitive lemons, urban gardeners are turning to yuzu, which can effortlessly withstand plunging temperatures down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit without dying. Its highly sought-after aroma is a culinary masterpiece, offering a complex, soaring hybrid scent of Meyer lemon, sharp grapefruit, and sweet mandarin. You will need a 15-gallon plastic pot filled with a fast-draining cactus and citrus soil blend. Because the tree develops fairly large thorns, it is best positioned in a quiet corner of your garden. It can easily survive a temperate winter right on the lawn if simply wrapped in horticultural fleece or pulled into an unheated shed. Expect a grafted tree to take 2 to 3 years to establish before it begins fruiting heavily. You harvest the fruit in early winter, exactly when the bumpy, heavily textured rind transitions to a brilliant, glowing yellow. In the culinary scene, yuzu juice is the foundational soul of authentic Japanese ponzu sauce, and its freshly grated zest is currently fetching astronomical prices at Michelin star restaurants across America. To back up its dietary value, research published in the Journal of Food Science officially confirmed that raw yuzu contains an exceptional concentration of vitamin C, nearly 3 times the amount found in a standard commercial lemon. As a fascinating cultural fact, the Japanese have an ancient winter tradition called yuzu-yu. On the coldest day of the winter solstice, people float dozens of whole, fresh yuzu fruits directly into steaming hot baths to allow the skin to absorb the volatile essential oils, naturally warding off harsh winter colds. At number 13, we have a baking cornerstone that thrives beautifully in freezing climates: the dwarf sour cherry. Completely unlike the towering sweet cherry trees, tart cherries naturally grow into a highly compact, bushy form that is exceptionally easy to manage in a backyard. They feature outstanding cold hardiness and are a non-negotiable requirement for classic American baking. For container cultivation, a 15-gallon plastic pot filled with standard, well-aerated potting soil is perfect. The definitive advantage of the dwarf tart cherry is that it is 100% self-fertile. You do not need to waste precious garden space on multiple trees. You only need to plant exactly one tree to guarantee branches bending under the weight of heavy fruit. It takes roughly 2 to 3 years for the canopy to expand and yield a substantial harvest in the middle of summer. Picking tart cherries is wonderfully easy, as the stems naturally release from the branches much cleaner than sweet varieties when fully ripe. They are the undisputed king for baking deep dish cherry pies or cooking down into rich, vibrant jams. Proving their profound medicinal value, a clinical study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry identified that tart cherries are one of the rarest natural food sources on the planet to contain notably high, concentrated levels of pure melatonin, making them a powerful, scientifically proven dietary intervention for curing insomnia and regulating human sleep cycles. For a brilliant historical fact, the legendary American myth of a young George Washington chopping down his father's cherry tree was almost certainly referring to a sour cherry, as this was by far the most heavily cultivated and highly prized fruit tree on colonial American homesteads. Sliding into number 12 is a native North American treasure, the northern high-bush blueberry. While technically classified as a woody shrub, when strategically pruned in a container, it transforms into a stunning, highly architectural miniature tree. It offers breathtaking visual appeal, transitioning from hundreds of dusty blue berries in the summer to blazing, fire-red foliage in the autumn. To grow this successfully, a 15-gallon plastic container is optimal, but the soil requirement is a matter of life and death. Blueberry roots strictly demand extreme soil acidity, requiring a pH level between 4.5 and 5.5. You must physically build a custom soil mix using a substantial amount of raw peat moss and shredded pine bark. Otherwise, the plant will rapidly turn yellow and perish. Once established, the bush will begin producing heavily within 2 to 3 years. The ultimate harvesting secret is patience. Once the berry turns seemingly blue, you must leave it on the branch for an additional 3 to 4 days to allow the internal sugars to fully peak. Eaten fresh, baked into classic morning muffins, or blended into smoothies, blueberries are a culinary staple. Validating their superfood status. An extensive neurological study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition proved that the specific anthocyanins, the deep purple-red pigments, in blueberries have the unique biological ability to physically cross the human blood-brain barrier, directly protecting neurons from oxidative stress and measurably improving memory retention. For a mind-blowing botanical reality, the blueberry does not actually contain a single drop of true blue pigment. The fruit achieves its signature color through a magnificent optical illusion. A microscopic, crystalline layer of natural epicuticular wax coating the skin physically scatters incoming light, tricking the human eye into seeing a vibrant, dusty blue, making it a breathtaking masterpiece of natural structural engineering rather than chemical pigmentation. At number 11, we are bringing quintessential Mediterranean elegance directly to your temperate garden with the Arbequina olive tree. While olive trees evoke images of sun-drenched Italy, the Arbequina variety features a distinctly compact, highly adaptable canopy that thrives perfectly in tight containers. It can easily survive temperate climates provided you simply roll the pot into a garage during active snowstorms. You will need a deep, 15-gallon plastic pot. You must line the bottom with a thick layer of coarse gravel and use a heavy sandy soil mix to guarantee instant rapid water drainage. The most critical growing secret for temperate climates is that the olive tree biologically requires a cold dormancy period, specifically around 300 hours of chilling temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, but strictly above freezing, to trigger the chemical hormones required to produce flowers in the spring. A grafted tree will yield its first olives in 2 to 3 years. You harvest in late fall when the hard green olives transition to a deep, bruised purple-black. You must never attempt to eat a raw olive directly off the tree, as it contains incredibly harsh, bitter alkaloids. The olives must be heavily brined, salt-cured, or cold-pressed into extra virgin oil. Backing up its legendary health reputation, a landmark cardiovascular report published in the New England Journal of Medicine directly linked the robust consumption of oleic acid, the primary monounsaturated fat found in olives, to a dramatic, measurable reduction in severe cardiovascular disease and heart attacks. As a mesmerizing biological fact, the olive tree possesses a resilience that borders on immortality. Even constrained in a backyard pot, if the soil is periodically refreshed, an Arbequina olive tree can live for several centuries, easily outliving the very human who originally planted it.
Before we jump into our top 10, have any of these trees made an appearance on your patio or porch yet? Or are you facing any challenges with caring for your plants? Share your stories down in the comments section below. And if you found this information helpful so far, don't forget to leave a like on the video. This really helps spread content like this to more people. Now, let's keep going.
Breaking into the top 10 is the captivating monarch of the temperate autumn, the dwarf Fuyu persimmon. When the brutal winter approaches and the tree aggressively drops all of its green leaves, your potted persimmon will look like a surreal work of art, featuring large, glowing, bright orange globes hanging from completely bare, stark wooden branches. For cultivation, you need a heavy, 20-gallon plastic pot. You must specifically seek out the Fuyu variety grafted onto a dwarfing rootstock. Plant it in a rich, well-draining soil mix. The persimmon tree possesses outstanding, resilient cold hardiness and easily survives freezing temperate winters completely unprotected in the backyard. It takes roughly 3 to 4 years for the tree to fully mature and deliver high-yield harvests. You must harvest by using sharp bypass pruners to cut the fruit close to the woody stem in late autumn, exactly when the skin turns a deep, fiery orange. The standout feature of the Fuyu variety is that it is non-astringent, meaning you can slice it and eat it immediately while it is still as hard and crisp as a fresh apple. It is exceptional when sliced paper-thin into an autumn harvest salad or heavily dehydrated into chewy, sugary snacks, highlighting its profound dietary power. Clinical research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition discovered that the specific, highly complex tannin compounds found inside persimmons have the unique biological ability to physically bind to dietary fats in the digestive tract, dramatically lowering the amount of bad cholesterol absorbed into the human bloodstream. For a wild botanical fact, the wood of the persimmon tree officially belongs to the ebony family. Its dense, heavy heartwood is so exceptionally solid, black, and impact-resistant that for decades, it was the exclusive, premium material used to carve the heads of the most expensive, high-end golf clubs in the world. Coming in at number 9 is a fascinating, overlooked botanical heirloom from the European Middle Ages, the medlar. This highly peculiar fruit tree is perfectly engineered for brutally cold, freezing winter climates. It produces striking white blossoms in the spring and deeply unusual, rustic brown fruits in the autumn. You will want a standard 15-gallon plastic pot filled with a loamy, highly organic soil blend. The medlar is renowned among horticulturalists for being a remarkably rugged, fiercely independent survivor. It is 100% self-fertile and possesses such a robust natural immune system that it is practically never attacked by common garden pests. The tree requires about 3 years of growth before it yields a heavy crop. The harvesting process breaks every single rule of modern agriculture. You must intentionally leave the hard, brown fruits hanging on the bare branches well after the first freezing winter frosts hit your garden. This deliberate freezing process, known historically as bletting, is a strict requirement, as the ice physically shatters the rigid internal cell walls, allowing the fruit to soften. Once fully bletted, you literally scoop the internal flesh out with a spoon. It possesses the exact, delightful flavor and texture of rich, spiced applesauce smoothly whipped with sweet caramel butter. Proving its immense historical value, chemical analysis published in the journal Food Chemistry verified that medlar fruits are extraordinarily rich in natural iron and ascorbic acid, making them a crucial, life-saving source of vital nutrients for medieval populations surviving through the dead of a freezing, snow-covered winter. At number 8 is an ancient, highly aromatic relative of the apple and pear, the dwarf quince. Growing a quince tree in a backyard container produces substantial, heavily wrinkled, golden yellow fruits that radiate an intensely intoxicating, room-filling perfume, smelling like a warm, heavy blend of ripe pineapple, fresh guava, and vanilla. You will need a 15-gallon plastic container for this highly ornamental tree. It adapts perfectly to freezing temperate climates and prefers a rich, highly porous soil mix that retains consistent moisture without ever becoming waterlogged. The tree takes roughly 3 to 4 years to establish its root system and begin setting its weighty fruits. Harvest takes place in the very late autumn, exactly when the hard, fuzzy green skin transitions entirely to a brilliant, glowing golden yellow. You cannot eat a raw quince. The fresh flesh is as hard as solid wood and violently astringent. However, when it is slowly simmered in water and sugar, it transforms into the legendary, rich culinary paste known as membrillo, which is traditionally paired with sharp manchego cheese. Validating its ancient medicinal usage, modern dietary research published in the journal Nutrients confirms that the quince possesses a towering concentration of natural pectin and highly active phenolic compounds, which have been scientifically proven to effectively soothe, coat, and actively heal painful gastric ulcers in the human stomach. For a mesmerizing piece of culinary magic, even though the raw, internal flesh of a quince is a pale, chalky yellowish white, the moment it is slowly simmered over heat, the ample amount of internal tannins triggers a radical chemical reaction, instantly turning the entire boiling pot of fruit into a brilliant, crystal clear, deep ruby red. Sliding into number 7 is a spectacularly tough, distinctive plant, the cornelian cherry. Despite its name, it actually belongs to the resilient dogwood family. Yet it produces thousands of edible, bright red, olive-shaped fruits. It is universally celebrated as one of the earliest blooming fruit trees on Earth, exploding into a striking canopy of brilliant yellow flowers in the dead of winter, often while heavy snow is still actively falling on your lawn. A 15-gallon plastic pot is perfectly adequate. It is remarkably cold-hardy, completely indifferent to poor soil conditions, and requires nothing more than consistent summer watering. Because of its intense, wild genetics, it is inherently resistant to almost all known boring insects and fungal diseases. It takes roughly 3 to 4 years of vegetative growth before it begins producing its red fruit. You must harvest in the late summer, waiting patiently until the fruit turns from bright red to a deeply bruised, dark purple-black. The fruit is fully ripe only when it physically drops from the branch at the gentlest touch. The flavor is highly acidic and sharply tart, mimicking the bright bite of a wild cranberry, making it the perfect ingredient for boiling into rich syrups or fermenting into complex, tart winter wines. To prove its medicinal heritage, advanced biochemical profiling published in Phytotherapy Research confirmed that the cornelian cherry contains a staggering level of anthocyanins that act as a remarkably potent natural anti-inflammatory agent, which explains exactly why Eastern European cultures have utilized this specific fruit to treat severe winter colds for hundreds of years. For a stunning historical fact, the heartwood of the cornelian cherry tree is so exceptionally dense, tight, and heavy that it literally sinks like a stone when thrown into water. Ancient Greek warriors specifically utilized this unbreakable wood to construct their legendary phalanx spears, and historical texts highly suggest that the infamous Trojan horse itself was built entirely from cornelian cherry timber. At number 6 is a marvel of subtropical adaptability, the pineapple guava, also scientifically known as the feijoa. While traditional tropical guavas perish at the slightest hint of frost, the feijoa is a rugged, evergreen survivor that has perfectly adapted to tolerate the freezing temperatures of Zone 8 temperate climates, and can easily be pulled into a garage in even colder regions. You will need a standard 15-gallon plastic pot filled with a sandy, highly aerated soil mix. To force the plant to produce a thick, fruit-bearing canopy in a container, you must routinely prune the top-growing tips to encourage lateral branching. It handles freezing, biting autumn winds with absolute ease. The tree reaches fruiting maturity in 2 to 3 years. The harvesting process is the most effortless experience in all of gardening. You never actually pick a feijoa. When the green, egg-shaped fruit is perfectly ripe, the tree simply drops it onto the grass of your backyard. You merely bend down, pick it up, and wait until it feels slightly soft to the touch. You slice the fruit perfectly in half and use a spoon to scoop out the gelatinous, highly fragrant pulp. The flavor is a vibrant, mouth-watering collision of ripe pineapple, sweet green apple, and a sharp, cooling finish of fresh mint. Backing up its unique nutritional profile, a comprehensive study published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology pointed out that the feijoa contains an unusually high, naturally occurring concentration of elemental iodine, a mineral that is notably rare in terrestrial fruits, but critical for maintaining healthy human thyroid function. For an absolutely mind-blowing culinary fact, you are not just growing this tree for the fruit. The thick, fleshy, bright pink and white flower petals that bloom in the spring are entirely edible, and they taste exactly like juicy clumps of sweet cotton candy soaked in raw nectar.
We are just a few steps away from our top 5. Don't take your eyes off the screen, because the #1 spot will completely change the way you think about container gardening. Remember to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell to keep exploring with us. Now, let's dive into the top 5 on today's list.
Breaking into the top 5 is the premier champion of backyard temperate gardening, the calamondine. This incredible citrus hybrid was biologically designed to conquer the cold. It effortlessly tolerates chilly temperate temperatures far better than standard lemons, naturally grows into a highly compact, dense, bonsai-like canopy, and relentlessly pumps out hundreds of tiny, aromatic fruits nearly year-round. A small 5 to 10 gallon plastic pot is actually the perfect size for this dwarfing tree. It requires a highly acidic, fast-draining citrus soil blend. The greatest superpower of the calamondine is that when the lethal blizzards of winter finally arrive, it is the only citrus tree that will thrive beautifully, sitting safely inside a brightly lit garden greenhouse. The growth speed is truly staggering. A grafted plant will actively begin producing heavy flushes of fruit within a single year. You can harvest the fruit at 2 completely different stages. Pick them when the rind is bright green for an aggressively sour, acidic explosion, or wait until they turn a deep, glowing orange for a slightly sweeter, highly aromatic juice. Remember to use shears to clip the stems so you do not tear the delicate rind. In the kitchen, the juice is heavily utilized to brew intensely refreshing iced teas or squeezed into fiery, chili-loaded seafood dipping sauces. Validating its superior quality, a detailed chemical analysis published in the Journal of Food Science confirmed that the specific molecular structure of vitamin C inside the calamondin is notably robust and highly stable, meaning it does not rapidly degrade or oxidize when exposed to the open air, unlike the juice of a standard commercial lemon. For a fascinating genetic reality, the calamondine is not a pure original species. It is widely believed by botanists to be a lucky, naturally occurring biological accident, a flawless, wild crossbreed between the cold, hardy kumquat and the sweet, highly juicy mandarin orange. At number 4, we have the highly coveted treasure of the temperate climate zone, the dwarf sweet cherry. Unlike tropical fruits, sweet cherries strictly demand a bitter, freezing winter to fulfill their deep biological chilling hours requirement, making them an exclusive, high-value crop for northern gardeners. Those notoriously expensive, dark red cherries you see in premium supermarkets can easily be grown right in your backyard. You must use a large 20-gallon heavy fabric grow bag to provide intense root aeration. The critical secret to success here is genetics. You must specifically purchase a self-fertile variety, like the Stella, that has been professionally grafted onto an extreme dwarfing rootstock, specifically the Gisela 5. When the green fruit finally begins to blush red in the early summer, you must aggressively wrap the entire canopy in bird netting, or local wildlife will utterly decimate your harvest in a single morning. It takes about 3 to 4 years for the tree to establish a thick trunk and yield heavy clusters. When harvesting, You must use scissors to clip the entire green stem attached to the cherry. If you pull the cherry and tear the flesh, the fruit will instantly bleed out its juices and rot within hours. Eaten raw and heavily chilled, they are an incredibly crisp, explosively sweet summer delicacy, highlighting their profound medicinal value. A groundbreaking clinical study published in the Journal of Nutrition proved that the specific dark red pigments, the anthocyanins, in sweet cherries act as a remarkably powerful, natural anti-inflammatory painkiller, literally mimicking the exact biochemical COX inhibitor mechanism found in over-the-counter ibuprofen. For a beautiful, yet tragic, botanical fact, while the exploding canopy of pink and white cherry blossoms in the spring is one of the most breathtaking sights in nature, their lifespan is brutally short. The entire glorious process, from the buds opening to the petals tearing away in the wind, lasts for a strict maximum of 14 days. Taking the bronze medal at number 3 is an indestructible powerhouse native directly to North America. The serviceberry, also widely known as the Juneberry. This phenomenal woody fruiting tree possesses an invincible resilience against the most brutal, freezing winter temperatures imaginable. It erupts into a stunning canopy of pure white flowers in the early spring and produces heavy clusters of dark berries that look exactly like blueberries, but grow on the towering branches of a tree. A 15-gallon plastic pot is perfect for cultivation. Unlike the highly demanding blueberry that requires extreme soil acidity, the serviceberry is exceptionally adaptable and thrives easily in standard, neutral pH potting soil. Because of its wild, native genetics, it possesses a robust natural immune system that effortlessly shrugs off almost all common garden pests and fungal diseases. It takes roughly 2 to 3 years for the tree to establish its canopy and push out a substantial harvest, exactly true to its alternative name. The heavy clusters of berries will explosively ripen all at once in the month of June. You harvest them the moment the berries transition from a bright, ruby red to a deeply bruised, dark purple-black. The flavor is a culinary triumph, offering the deep, jammy sweetness of a wild blueberry, perfectly blended with the rich, nutty, complex aftertaste of a crushed almond, providing solid scientific backing. A comprehensive nutritional breakdown published in the Journal of Food Science officially proved that the serviceberry completely eclipses the famous blueberry in terms of raw nutrition, containing significantly higher concentrated levels of plant-based protein, calcium, and iron. For a deeply profound historical fact, the name serviceberry actually originates from the freezing history of early American pioneers. In the 1800s, when this specific tree finally burst into white blooms, it served as the natural signal that the frozen, solid ground had thawed enough for the villagers to dig graves and hold the delayed burial services for all the pioneers who had tragically died during the harsh winter. Coming in hot at number 2 is a plant with warm Mediterranean origins that has evolved into one of the greatest northern survivors in horticultural history, the Chicago hardy fig. This specific genetic strain possesses a borderline miraculous ability to survive freezing temperatures. During a severe winter blizzard, the entire top, woody half of the tree can physically freeze solid and completely die back. Yet the heavily insulated root system inside the plastic pot will remain entirely alive, immediately shooting up thick, new fruit-bearing branches the very second spring arrives. For container cultivation, you need a substantial 20-gallon plastic pot. It is remarkably forgiving and thrives perfectly well in cheap, nutrient-poor soil. The secret to keeping it alive in a temperate climate is forcing an artificial winter. When the freezing winds arrive, you must physically drag the heavy pot into a pitch-black, unheated garage and completely withhold all water, literally suffocating the plant into a state of deep, protective dormancy. The speed of production is staggering. A rooted cutting can easily throw out its first flush of heavy figs within its very first or second year. A fig is only perfectly ripe and ready to harvest when the heavy neck of the fruit physically droops downward. The skin becomes soft, and a single drop of crystal-clear nectar bleeds out of the tiny hole at the bottom. Sliced in half, seared on a hot cast-iron skillet, and wrapped in salty prosciutto and goat cheese, it is a culinary masterpiece. Validating its dietary supremacy, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics heavily promotes the dried fig as one of the most concentrated sources of plant-based calcium on the planet, critically defending human bone density against osteoporosis. For a highly disturbing, yet fascinating biological fact, the fig is not actually a fruit. It is a syconium, a fleshy stem that has physically grown inside out, trapping thousands of microscopic flowers on the inside. Those tiny, crunchy bits you chew on are not seeds. They are the unpollinated, inward-facing flowers that have never, ever seen the light of the sun. Taking the absolute crown at number 1 is an exotically captivating masterpiece of the botanical world, the strawberry tree. This is one of the rare, broadleaf evergreen fruit trees that can successfully survive and thrive in a temperate climate. It produces substantial, perfectly round, bright red, heavily textured fruits that look exactly like giant strawberries, but they bizarrely grow hanging from the hard, woody branches of a towering tree, instantly transforming your backyard into a surreal, fairy tale landscape. To grow this successfully, you need a heavy 20-gallon plastic or fabric container. The tree demands a highly sandy, rocky soil blend that drains water instantly, mirroring its rugged coastal origins. It is notably cold-hardy down to Zone 7, easily laughing off heavy autumn frost and biting, salty coastal winds. If a severe, multi-day winter blizzard strikes, simply sliding the pot into an unheated garage is more than enough protection. A grafted tree will develop a stunning, twisting trunk and begin producing heavily after 2 to 3 years. The harvesting cycle is where the true magic happens. The fruit grows incredibly slow, taking nearly 12 entire months to fully ripen. Because of this bizarre, delayed timeline, in the late autumn, the tree will simultaneously display the delicate, white, bell-shaped flowers of the new upcoming harvest right alongside the glowing red fruits of the previous year's harvest on the exact same branch. The fruit possesses a soft, dense, doughy texture with a highly complex flavor perfectly blending sweet peach and tart apricot. In European gastronomy, it is heavily boiled down into rich marmalades or commercially fermented to create a highly intoxicating, sparkling fruit wine. To back up its premium status, advanced biochemical research published in the Journal of Functional Foods confirmed that the fruit of the strawberry tree contains towering levels of raw vitamin C and arbutin, a highly potent, biologically active compound utilized in the medical field for its powerful skin brightening and anti-aging properties. For a legendary historical fact, the scientific name of the tree, unado, directly originates from a famous quote by the ancient Roman philosopher Pliny the Elder, who stated, "Unum edo," which translates to, "I eat only one." While historians assume he meant the fruit was too tart to eat more than one, modern gardeners know the truth. If you wait patiently until the fruit turns a deeply bruised, dark red, and becomes incredibly soft to the touch, the flavor transforms into an intensely sweet, addictive nectar that makes it utterly impossible to stop eating. That wraps up our list of the 15 best dwarf fruit trees and shrubs for temperate climates. Which of these cold, hardy varieties makes the most sense for your space? Did I leave out a temperate fruit tree that you've already had success with? Let me know in the comments below, along with what gardening topics you want me to cover next. But don't go anywhere just yet. because our container orchard masterclass is far from over. Right now, let's dive into the next 15 high-yield dwarf fruit trees for container gardening. Let's get started.
Kicking off our high-yielding backyard orchard at number 15 is the spectacular dwarf Cavendish banana. While traditional banana plants tower at 20 feet, this specific genetic mutation stops at just 6 feet, making it the ultimate tropical heavyweight for container gardening. Because this plant develops an immense, fleshy underground corm and carries a heavy canopy of gigantic leaves, you absolutely must use a heavy-duty 15-gallon hard plastic pot to prevent the wind from completely toppling it over. Fill this colossal container with a slightly acidic, extremely rich potting soil, heavily amended with thick organic compost and perlite for excellent drainage. You do not grow bananas from seeds. Instead, you must purchase a live, rooted, vegetative pup or sucker from a certified nursery to guarantee a true-to-type clone. Place the container in the absolute hottest, most blistering full-sun location your patio can offer. Bananas consist of nearly 80% water, meaning your watering schedule must be relentless. You must heavily drench the soil every single day during the summer heat, never allowing the root zone to dry out. Feed it every 2 weeks with a specialized fertilizer heavily loaded with potassium and nitrogen. The harvest time tests your patience, typically requiring 12 to 15 months of uninterrupted growth. Once the gigantic purple flower drops and the thick cluster of green bananas begins to swell and show a slight yellow tint, use a sharp machete to slice the entire stalk right off the plant. Hang the stalk in your kitchen to ripen fully, transforming your home into a tropical oasis. Use the intensely sweet fruits for gourmet smoothies or dense banana bread. According to detailed agricultural research published by the University of Florida IFAS Extension, the banana tree is not biologically a tree at all. It is technically the world's largest perennial herb, possessing no actual woody trunk, but rather a false stem called a pseudostem made entirely of tightly packed leaves. Here is a fascinating fact. Because Cavendish bananas contain extraordinarily high, concentrated levels of the isotope potassium-40, they are physically, measurably radioactive, to the point where commercial shipping crates of bananas frequently trigger false alarms in highly sensitive radiation detectors at international ports. At number 14 is the breathtaking dragon fruit, scientifically known as Hylocereus undatus. This strange, vining tropical cactus produces enormous, neon-pink, alien-looking fruits and is absolutely tailor-made to be a high-yielding container monster on your patio. Because it is a heavy, active climbing cactus, you must use a substantial, wide 15-gallon heavy plastic pot. Crucially, you must securely bury a towering 4-foot wooden post directly into the center of the dirt to physically support the vines as they climb. Fill the pot with a top-tier sandy cactus and succulent mix, as heavy potting soil will rot the cactus instantly. You can easily grow this by purchasing a live cutting, allowing the cut-in to dry and heal for a week, and pressing it directly into the dry soil. Place the container in blazing, unrelenting sunlight. Keep the soil slightly moist during the brutal summer heat, but strictly bone dry during winter to prevent fungal diseases. Feed it generously every 2 weeks with a high-phosphorus liquid bloom booster to trigger the spectacular flower. Arriving in late summer, the large green buds will suddenly explode into dinner plate-sized white flowers. Once pollinated, the base swells into a heavy neon pink fruit. Harvest by firmly twisting the ripe fruit until it snaps off the vine. In the kitchen, slice the alien fruit in half and scoop out the sweet, refreshing, seed-speckled flesh with a spoon. According to botanical research from the University of California Cooperative Extension, the breathtaking white flowers of the dragon fruit are strictly nocturnal. They physically wait for the sun to completely set before forcefully bursting open in the dark to specifically attract their primary biological pollinators, large nectar-feeding bats. Here is a fascinating fact. If you lack giant bats on your patio, the colossal flower will physically die and fall off by mid-morning unless you wake up before dawn and use a small makeup brush to manually transfer the pollen yourself. Coming in at number 13 is the highly exotic star fruit, specifically the dwarf Hawaiian carambola. This spectacular tropical evergreen tree produces abundant clusters of waxy yellow fruit and thrives brilliantly as a highly productive patio container specimen. Because this tree develops a wide, thirsty root system, you must select a large 15-gallon heavy-duty plastic pot to retain deep, consistent soil moisture and prevent wind damage. Fill the container with a high-quality, slightly acidic, heavily composted potting soil that holds water efficiently but readily drains excess out the bottom. You must purchase a grafted dwarf nursery tree, as growing from seed guarantees highly unpredictable wild genetics that may never fruit. Place the container in an incredibly bright, full-sun location, but ensure it is completely protected from harsh backyard winds. Star fruit trees are relentless tropical drinkers. You must water the container heavily and frequently, ensuring the root zone never completely dries out, especially during fruit set. Feed it consistently every 4 weeks with a balanced organic liquid fertilizer to fuel its heavy blooming. The harvest time is incredibly rewarding, as a mature dwarf tree can produce multiple abundant flushes of fruit throughout late summer and autumn. You must wait until the deep green ridges turn entirely golden yellow before snapping them off the heavy branches. Slice the fruit horizontally to reveal perfect, edible yellow stars that taste like a crisp blend of green apples and sweet grapes, perfect for luxury salads. A rigorous medical review published in the Clinical Kidney Journal explicitly warns that star fruit contains concentrated levels of the neurotoxin caramboxin, which is entirely harmless to healthy humans, but scientifically proven to be fatal to patients with severe chronic kidney disease. Here is a fascinating fact. The compound leaves of the star fruit tree exhibit a biological phenomenon called nyctinasty. When the sun sets, the leaves physically fold themselves up tightly in a sleep position, completely reopening only when morning sunlight returns. Sliding into number 12 is the dwarf mango, specifically focusing on ultra-compact varieties like the Pickering or Condo mango. The idea of growing a towering tropical mango tree in a backyard pot seems completely insane. But these genetically compact trees are specifically engineered for tremendous patio yields. Because mango trees develop a long, vigorous taproot, you absolutely must use a deep, heavy-duty 15-gallon plastic pot to provide downward space and extreme structural stability. Fill the pot with a highly aerated, well-draining citrus or palm soil mix, heavily amended with pumice. You must completely avoid planting mango seeds from the grocery store, as they will grow into 60-foot trees. You must purchase a grafted dwarf tree. Place the pot in the most blistering, sweltering, full-sun location possible. Mangoes despise wet feet. Practice strict watering discipline, allowing the soil to dry out significantly between deep soakings to prevent root rot. Feed it monthly with a high-potassium organic fertilizer to fuel the panicles. Arriving in the agonizing heat of late summer, the tremendous fruits are ready to harvest when their skin blushes with vibrant red and yellow hues and emits an intoxicating, sweet, tropical perfume. Use sharp shears to cut the thick stem. Dice the buttery, fiberless orange flesh into a spicy backyard salsa, or blend it into a first-class smoothie. A detailed botanical profile published by the University of Florida Tropical Research and Education Center states that mango trees exhibit alternate bearing, meaning a heavy harvest of fruit one summer naturally chemically suppresses the tree, resulting in a significantly lighter harvest the following year. Here is a fascinating fact. Biologically speaking, the mango tree belongs to the Anacardiaceae plant family, making it a direct botanical cousin to poison ivy. The thick sap found in the stems and unripe skin contains a highly potent chemical called urushiol, which can trigger severe, blistering allergic skin reactions. Number 11 brings us the spectacular dwarf everbearing mulberry. Most people actively avoid mulberries because standard trees grow 40 feet tall and completely destroy concrete foundations. But this specific dwarf mutation is an absolute container superstar that produces buckets of sweet berries. You must select a large 15-gallon fabric grow bag for this plant. The highly breathable fabric forces the vigorous root system to naturally air prune, keeping the tree permanently dwarfed. Fill the bag with a rich, loamy, compost-heavy potting soil. Start this plant by purchasing a dormant bare root cutting and burying it halfway into the soil during early spring. Place the container in full, blazing backyard sun. Mulberries are relentless drinkers when fruiting. You must water the grow bag deeply every single day during the summer heat to ensure the berries become incredibly plump and juicy rather than dry. Feed it every 4 weeks with a balanced organic liquid fertilizer. Unlike standard trees that fruit just once a year, this dwarf variety produces continuous, explosive waves of sweet, blackberry-like fruit from late spring until the very first winter frost. Gently pull the dark purple berries. If perfectly ripe, they detach with zero resistance. Eat them raw, bake them into rich summer pies, or boil them down into thick jam. A comprehensive agricultural review published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry scientifically verified that dark mulberries contain concentrated levels of resveratrol, the exact same heart-protecting, anti-aging antioxidant found in high-quality red wine. Here is a fascinating fact. The leaves of the mulberry tree are the absolute exclusive diet of the Bombyx mori caterpillar, commonly known as the silkworm. Without this specific botanical genus, the entire global multi-billion-dollar ancient silk industry would instantly collapse, as they will literally starve to death before eating anything else. Before we move into the top 10, have you ever tasted a fresh mulberry picked right off the tree? Let me know your experience down in the comments. And if you are finding this list helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's keep going. At number 10 is the dwarf bush cherry. Forget the towering giant cherry trees that take a decade to fruit. Modern agricultural breeding has produced magnificent shrub-like dwarf cherries that yield incredible amounts of top-quality fruit right in backyard containers. Because the root system is surprisingly shallow and highly fibrous, a wide 7-gallon fabric grow bag is the absolute perfect choice to ensure maximum oxygenation. Fill the container with a slightly acidic, heavily composted potting soil mixed with coarse sand for superior drainage. Watering requires strict attention. As the white blossoms drop and green fruit sets, the soil must be kept consistently, deeply moist to prevent the plant from aborting its fruit. Apply a slow-release organic fertilizer just once in early spring. The harvest time is remarkably fast, usually arriving in the peak of midsummer. These dense bushes max out at just 4 feet tall, meaning you can easily cover the entire pot with a bird net and harvest the dark, crimson-red cherries by hand from the comfort of a patio chair. These tart, complex cherries are the undisputed kings of baking, creating the most intense, rich, deep red cherry pies you will ever taste. A comprehensive nutritional study published in the Journal of Nutrition scientifically proved that tart cherries contain extraordinarily high natural concentrations of exogenous melatonin, significantly enhancing human sleep quality and effectively curing chronic insomnia when consumed before bed. Here is a fascinating fact. Unlike almost all traditional sweet cherry trees that absolutely require you to plant a second, completely different cherry tree nearby for cross-pollination, these specific dwarf bush cherries are biologically engineered to be 100% self-fruitful. Coming in at number 9 is the dwarf blueberry. Growing blueberries directly in backyard dirt is notoriously difficult because of their extreme soil requirements, making container growing the ultimate biological cheat code for this high-yielding antioxidant powerhouse. Because blueberry roots are incredibly fine, shallow, and highly prone to suffocation, you absolutely must use a 5-gallon breathable fabric grow bag. Standard potting dirt will kill this bush instantly. You must use a highly specialized, extremely acidic soil mix, composed primarily of pure peat moss and pine bark fines, explicitly maintaining a pH between 4.0 and 5.0. Purchase a 2-year-old bare root plant and place it in full direct sunlight. You must water this bush religiously every single day during the scorching summer, strictly using collected rainwater, as the alkaline calcium in municipal tap water will completely destroy the soil's critical acidity. Fertilize it twice a season with an acid-loving organic feed intended for azaleas. Arriving in midsummer, the bush will be completely covered in small, bell-shaped white flowers that magically transform into plump, dusty blue berries. Handpick the berries only when they easily roll off the stem into your palm without pulling. These sweet, tart berries are perfect for baking artisanal muffins or folding into morning oatmeal. A decades-long health study published by the Harvard School of Public Health definitively proved that the profound concentration of anthocyanins, the actual biological pigment making them blue, significantly delays cognitive decline and physically protects the human brain against the onset of Alzheimer's disease. Here is a fascinating fact. True blueberries are one of the only commercially grown food crops on the entire planet that are completely, strictly native to North America. Indigenous Native American tribes fiercely guarded wild patches, using the crushed berries to dye their sacred garments. Number 8 brings us the spectacular dwarf thornless blackberry. Traditional blackberry brambles are terrifying, aggressive, thorn-covered monsters that will quickly take over an entire backyard. But this spectacular genetic dwarf stays perfectly compact, is completely thornless, and yields a bountiful harvest. Because it naturally grows as a dense, low-spreading bush rather than a sprawling vining cane, a wide, 5-gallon heavy plastic pot is the absolute perfect container. Fill the pot with a top-tier, slightly acidic, highly aerated potting soil, heavily amended with peat moss and rich compost. Purchase a bare root dormant plant from a certified nursery and plant it deeply in early spring. Place the container in an area receiving full, direct sunlight for at least 8 hours a day. Blackberries are incredibly thirsty plants when actively producing fruit. You must water the container deeply and relentlessly, ensuring the soil never dries out during the blistering heat of summer. Feed it monthly with a balanced organic liquid fertilizer to fuel the heavy flower clusters. Arriving in midsummer, the dense bush will be heavily loaded with exceptionally plump, jet black berries. Because there are absolutely zero thorns, you can confidently harvest the huge berries barehanded without shedding a single drop of blood. These intensely sweet, complex berries are the ultimate ingredient for dark, artisan summer jams and rich cobblers. A rigorous clinical study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry prove that the dark black pigment in these specific berries contains powerful anthocyanins that actively cross the blood-brain barrier, physically reversing age-related motor and cognitive decline. Here is a fascinating fact. Biologically speaking, a blackberry is not actually a true berry. It is scientifically classified as an aggregate fruit, meaning each individual juicy bump on the surface is technically a complete, separate, tiny fruit, containing its own microscopic seed. At number 7, we have the magnificent calamondin, often called the calamansi. This stunning miniature citrus tree is an absolute powerhouse of fruit production, capable of yielding hundreds of tiny, bright orange fruits simultaneously on a tiny balcony patio. Because citrus roots despise standing water and demand heavy oxygenation, a 10-gallon, highly breathable fabric grow bag is the perfect container, naturally air pruning the roots and preventing deadly fungal rot. Fill the bag with a specialized, rapidly draining citrus and cactus soil mix, heavily diluted with coarse sand and pine bark. Growing from seed takes nearly 5 years to fruit, so purchasing a grafted nursery sapling is strictly mandatory. Place the container in at least 8 uninterrupted hours of blazing direct sunlight. Your watering strategy must explicitly rely on the wet and dry cycle. Soak the bag completely, then absolutely refuse to water it again until the top 3 inches are completely bone dry. Feed it every 6 weeks with an iron-rich, granular citrus fertilizer. The harvest time is truly incredible because calamondins are true ever-bearing trees, constantly producing highly fragrant white blossoms and ripe fruit 365 days a year. Harvest with sharp snips when they turn a vibrant deep orange. In the kitchen, generously squeeze the highly acidic aromatic juice over grilled seafood. A comprehensive horticultural study, published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry, verified that the peel contains extraordinarily high concentrations of delimonene, actively lowering human blood sugar levels and effectively suppressing acute systemic inflammation. Here is a fascinating fact. The calamondin possesses a bizarre inverted biological flavor profile. The brilliant orange skin is shockingly sweet, while the inner juice is violently sour. The proper way to eat it raw is to pop the entire unpeeled fruit into your mouth to perfectly balance the extremes. Number 6 is the majestic kumquat tree, specifically the cold-hardy Nagami variety. This tiny, elegant evergreen tree produces an absolute explosion of elongated, bright orange citrus fruits and is specifically engineered by nature to thrive and yield heavily in cramped containers. You must plant it in a deep, 7-gallon heavy plastic pot to firmly protect its sensitive taproot from sudden temperature drops during the autumn months. Fill the pot with a specialized, slightly acidic citrus mix that balances moisture retention with rapid drainage. Buy a live grafted tree from a certified nursery. Place it in a location receiving full, unshaded sunlight from dawn until dusk. Kumquats are incredibly thirsty when actively setting fruit. You must water deeply every 3 days during summer, ensuring the drainage holes are never blocked by patio debris. Apply a specialized zinc and magnesium-heavy citrus fertilizer once every 2 months. The harvest time occurs right in the dead of winter, providing a spectacular, brilliant burst of fresh fruit when the rest of your garden is completely dormant and frozen. Harvest by meticulously snipping the fruits individually to avoid tearing the delicate branches. Slice them incredibly thin to make artisanal bittersweet marmalades, or candy them whole in heavy sugar syrup. A major botanical profile published by the University of California, Riverside dictates that eating the high-fiber peel directly along with the juice highly stimulates digestion and nutrient absorption. Here is a fascinating fact. The kumquat tree is scientifically proven to be the most cold-hardy of all commercially grown citrus species on the entire planet. While a standard orange tree dies instantly in freezing temperatures, a mature kumquat enters deep biological dormancy, physically surviving brutal temperatures, plunging down to 18 degrees Fahrenheit without sustaining any permanent cellular damage. Eating the peel, along with the juice, makes the kumquat a very unique fruit. Do you prefer growing sweet or sour citrus varieties? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe before we continue. Taking the number 5 spot is the spectacular dwarf guava, specifically ultra-compact varieties like Ruby Supreme. This incredible, fast-growing tropical shrub produces a tremendous abundance of intensely sweet, aromatic fruits and is perfectly tailored for explosive yields in a backyard container. Because it naturally grows as a dense, wide-spreading bush, you must use a 10-gallon, highly breathable fabric grow bag to effectively air prune the roots and stop them from choking the pot. Fill the bag with a rich, well-draining standard potting mix, heavily amended with organic worm castings and coarse sand. Always purchase a rooted cutting or grafted tree, as seed-grown guavas are notoriously unreliable in fruit quality. Place the container in the most blistering, sun-drenched corner of your patio, as guavas absolutely require extreme heat to develop their high sugar content. During the peak summer, water the fabric bag heavily every 2 days to ensure the fruit swells. Apply a heavy, phosphorus-rich organic granular fertilizer early in spring. Arriving in late summer through autumn, you will know the fruits are perfectly ripe when the green skin blushes to a bright pale yellow and your entire patio is filled with a ridiculously strong, sweet, musky perfume. Hand-pick the soft fruits individually. Slice them in half and eat the bright pink flesh, seeds and all, or thoroughly blend them into a thick, luxurious tropical juice. A comprehensive nutritional analysis published by the USDA scientifically confirms that a single raw guava contains nearly 4 times the amount of pure vitamin C as a large orange, making it an ultimate immune-boosting superfruit. Here is a fascinating fact. The thick, veined leaves of the guava tree possess such extraordinarily powerful antibacterial properties that herbalists in South America routinely crush the raw foliage and pack it directly into open, bleeding wounds to instantly stop hemorrhaging and prevent severe infections. Breaking into the top 4 is the magnificent pineapple. Most people falsely assume you need a vast, sprawling plantation to grow these, but the pineapple is actually a remarkably compact bromeliad that produces an exquisite tropical fruit in a tiny backyard container. Because the root system is surprisingly tiny and incredibly shallow, a wide 5-gallon unglazed terracotta pot is the absolute perfect choice to ensure the soil dries out rapidly. Fill the pot with an incredibly poor, sandy, cactus-like potting mix, heavily choked with perlite. You do not need seeds. Simply twist the spiky green crown off a fresh grocery store pineapple, strip the bottom leaves to expose the root nodes, and press it directly into the damp sand. Place the pot in the hottest, sun-drenched corner of your patio. You must completely allow the soil to become utterly bone dry between deep waterings, or the central core will rot instantly. Apply a liquid organic fertilizer directly into the central cup of the spiky leaves every 2 months. The harvest takes 2 to 3 grueling years to produce a single fruit. Eventually, a beautiful stalk will rise, producing a gorgeous golden pineapple. Wait until the spiky skin turns entirely bright yellow and the intense aroma fills your patio before using a heavy serrated knife to chop it off the stalk. Grill the thick rings for a gourmet backyard barbecue side dish. A biochemical study published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry confirms the raw core contains highly concentrated levels of bromelain, a remarkably powerful proteolytic enzyme proven to physically digest complex human proteins and significantly speed up surgical healing. Here is a fascinating fact. Because of that flesh-eating bromelain enzyme, when you are eating a bowl of raw pineapple, the powerful biological enzymes inside the fruit are literally actively digesting the microscopic flesh of your tongue and cheeks right back. Coming in at number 3 is the dwarf pomegranate, scientifically known as Punica granatum nana. This magnificent ancient shrub produces spectacular, fiery red trumpet-shaped flowers, followed by hundreds of miniature, jewel-filled crimson fruits, all while staying incredibly compact. Because it naturally thrives in rocky, completely barren landscapes, you must select a heavy, unglazed, 5-gallon terracotta pot to rapidly draw out excess moisture away from the root zone. You must fill the pot with a highly alkaline, desert-style cactus mix, heavily choked with crushed gravel and agricultural pumice. While propagating from hardwood cuttings is preferred, you can actually grow this from the fruit seeds pressed into damp sand, though you must wait 3 years for fruit. Place the heavy terracotta pot in the most punishing, blistering, full-sun environment available. Treat it exactly like a desert survivor. Let the pot dry out completely, almost until the leaves droop, before unleashing a heavy deluge of water. A single handful of organic bone meal in early spring fuels the abundant flower production. Arriving in late autumn, the small leathery red orbs will begin to physically split open directly on the branch. Snip them off, break open the bitter rind, and extract the brilliant ruby red arils. Crush them to extract pure antioxidant-rich pomegranate juice. A landmark clinical trial published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition proved that pomegranate arils contain tremendous levels of punicalagins, powerful antioxidants scientifically proven to physically reverse arterial plaque buildup and lower blood pressure. Here is a fascinating fact. In ancient Greek mythology, the pomegranate was known as the fruit of the dead. Because Persephone ate exactly 6 sweet pomegranate seeds in the underworld, she was eternally cursed to spend 6 months underground, explaining the biological origin of the cold winter season. The runner-up at number 2 is the breathtaking genetic dwarf nectarine. This is not a standard fruit tree that was merely grafted onto a small rootstock. This is a brilliant genetic mutation, creating a dense, beautiful miniature tree topping out at 5 feet, but producing abundant yields of full-sized stone fruit. You must select a heavy, substantial 15-gallon plastic pot. A large container provides the sheer physical weight needed to prevent the top-heavy, fruit-laden tree from forcefully tipping over and smashing on your patio in severe winds. Fill it with a high-quality, well-draining potting soil, heavily amended with compost and coarse sand. Purchase a bare-root, dormant tree from a specialized nursery and plant it deeply before the spring weather warms. Place the container in the absolute sunniest spot on your patio. During the spring fruit set, watering must be deep and highly consistent. If the soil dries out even once, the tree will panic and physically drop all its unripe nectarines. Feed it early in spring with a slow-release granular fruit tree fertilizer. Occurring in the brutal heat of mid to late summer, the fruit is perfectly ripe when the green skin completely transitions to a deep, blushing red, and the flesh yields slightly to gentle thumb pressure. Gently twist the fruit off the thick branch. Slice these warm, sun-ripened nectarines directly over artisanal vanilla ice cream. Agricultural research from the University of California, Davis confirms genetic dwarf stone fruit trees possess extraordinarily short internodes, meaning the dense canopy of foliage physically shades and completely protects the sensitive fruit skin from severe solar sunburn. Here is a fascinating fact. Biologically speaking, a nectarine and a peach are exactly the same botanical species. The entire sweeping difference between the two fruits relies exclusively on just one single, naturally occurring recessive gene that physically controls the production of fuzzy peach skin. Taking the absolute crown at number 1 is the genetic dwarf fig tree, specifically the legendary Little Miss Figgy variety. Standard fig trees grow 30 feet tall and produce highly invasive roots that physically crush concrete pipes. But this brilliant dwarf mutation yields abundant, sticky gourmet figs from a tiny, elegant patio pot. Because fig roots require extreme physical restriction to trigger heavy fruiting, a tight 5-gallon unglazed terracotta pot is the ultimate container. The tight space physically forces the tree to stop growing roots and start producing tremendous amounts of fruit. Fill the container with a very poor, heavy, loamy potting soil, heavily mixed with coarse sand for rapid drainage. Propagate this tree by taking a dormant hardwood cutting and sticking it directly into the damp dirt in early spring. Place the heavy pot in the most blistering, sun-scorched corner of your backyard. The watering strategy requires harsh, ruthless discipline. Allow the soil to dry out completely between deep waterings, as overwatering causes the swelling figs to physically split open and rot directly on the branch. Apply only a single handful of organic bone meal in the spring. Occurring in late summer, wait until the dark purple figs physically droop downward and become incredibly soft to the touch, often leaking a single drop of sweet honey from the bottom eye. Gently twist them off the branch. Wrap these intensely sweet, warm fruits in high-quality prosciutto and roast them for a luxury appetizer. According to a detailed botanical profile published by the University of California, fig trees are completely flowerless on the outside. The actual flowers are biologically inverted and grow entirely trapped inside the fleshy fruit cavity. Here is a fascinating fact. Because the flowers are trapped inside, ancient species of figs possess a microscopic hole explicitly designed for a specific species of female wasp to crawl inside, pollinate the fruit, and physically die, eventually being entirely enzymatically digested by the growing fig.
That wraps up our list of the 15 best high-yield dwarf fruit trees for container gardening. Which of these heavy producers makes the most sense for your patio? Did I leave out a high-yielding variety that you've already had success with? Let me know in the comments below, along with what gardening topics you want me to cover next. Get out there, get your hands dirty, and I will see you in the next video.